Today's podcast is made possible in part when our listeners use our links for Amazon.com. Whether you're looking for a new batch of rice, beans, or a portable massager, get the best deals on everything and support Rob as a podcast when you use our links at robhasawebsite.com/Amazon. Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now, here's a guy who in 10 years of being with Nicole has never gotten a back rub like Jeff Probst gave to Brandon Hantz. Rob Sesternino. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Rob Has a Podcast. I am Rob Sesternino, here with the one and only First Lady of Podcast, non-back rub giving, Nicole Sesternino.
Hello.
And Nicole, you are going to be with us the whole show today.
The entire time.
This is almost like...
Hold on to your butt cheeks.
Hold on to your butt cheeks. It's almost like election coverage where we're bringing out the big guns here.
Well, I am the medical professional here.
Our medical professional. We have got a big show tonight.
It's huge.
Big show tonight, okay? So we have... very controversial thing that happened. It wasn't just Hantz again, and there's so many different angles to cover on this story.
Lots of layers here.
It's a very layered story for what we do, because we're going to talk about the show. We're going to talk about the meta of what does this mean for the show? What are people reacting to this? So we all know what happened. Brandon Hantz had the meltdown, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Hantz-ageddon. He went out.
Again.
He was the author. He was the author of his own fate, which is not selling as well as the book that Philip is the author of.
Ooh, don't compare them.
The specialist calling the Costa Rica job. That's what Philip is the author of.
Right.
So we have a big show. Okay, so we're going to talk about all the different angles here, what this means for everything. Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk to in a couple minutes. We're going to call up Russell Hantz.
Obviously, we have to talk to Russell Hantz.
We cannot get the scope of what is going on without checking in with Russell Hantz.
It's hard to get a good read on where he stands.
So we're going to talk to Russell Hantz. Brandon says his uncle has, in his interview with Dalton Ross, which was great.
It was a very good interview. If you haven't listened to it, check it out.
I did an exit interview with Brandon, and it was a little rough at first.
I thought you were going to get beat up through the phone.
He was pissed. And then it turned out that whatever he was pissed about,
somebody
else said it. Okay,
but Whoopi Goldberg better watch out.
Whoopi better watch it.
Yes.
Okay, and you'll have to listen to the interview to find out why Brandon is mad at Whoopi. That being said, you would think if Whoopi Goldberg was going to fight with any survivor, it would be Elizabeth Hasselbeck.
You would think.
No. Whoopi Brandon, that could be coming. Watch out.
That's amazing.
She better not give him a nickname. That's all we have to say. But anyway, so Dalton Ross did a really great interview with Brandon Hantz this morning as well. And Brandon said his uncle has never been prouder of him.
Yes, but then when you go on Twitter, Russell is asking questions.
So we'll get this. We'll get the whole story straightened out.
We need to know.
Okay. Then after we talk to Russell, we're gonna check in with Edna. Edna Ma,
another medical professional.
You're right. Who lived with Brandon the whole time she was there on Survivor South Pacific. Yes. She also is friends with Corinne in real life.
Yes.
She also played with Cochran and Dawn, so she has a few different angles to cover.
Yes.
And we never got her on the show, and we've been trying to figure out a way to get her on. We thought this would be a good spot.
Perfect.
So a lot to do. Nicole's with us the whole time. Big show.
Might have to take a pee break.
All right. So last night, Nicole, I did the big show with Steven Fishback, and Steven was having like a whole party at his house.
Who knew Steven was such a pimp?
A big pimp.
He's big pimpin'.
He is big pimpin'. So we did that show with Steven. That was a lot of fun. If you miss any of our Survivor shows, you can always subscribe to Rob Has a Podcast, either on iTunes or to our... or, your whatever, if you're not on Apple. Some people are on the Droid, Nicole.
Some people are.
Yeah. Or you could subscribe to our Survivor-only feed of Rob Has a Podcast. You could do either of those things at robhasawebsite.com/show feed. So I know this is a big show. I know a lot of people are really highly anticipated the coverage of this. So let's go ahead. Let's see if we can just get Russell Hantz on the line. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Okay, Nicole. Here we go. Okay, dialing Russell Hantz.
Hello,
Hello, is this Russell Hantz?
this is Russell Hantz.
The one and only.
Yes, Russell. You're on with Rob and Nicole.
Yeah, I'm becoming a regular here.
You were a regular before this.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. Maybe I could be like a side host or something.
You're like the new Stephen Fishback.
I think you're on the show more than I am.
The new Stephen Fishback.
Has anybody
What's
ever
wrong with
called
the
you
old Stephen Fishback?
Well, you're going to be on as much as him.
Well, I guess I can see our games being somewhat the same.
Very. You guys have something in common too.
Yeah, but I'm much better looking than he is.
Whoa. Oh, all right. Well, we're not here to talk about. We're not here to talk
We can't
about
go there.
Stephen Fishback. Russell, that the Hantzes have been on everybody's mind today. We
More than usual.
We have this whole situation that went down. I talked to Brandon this morning, and I don't know if you had any part in that, but we appreciate your help in any way, shape, or form with the podcast.
Right.
So, Russell, we want to know, what was your reaction to what we saw last night?
Well, I was sitting right next to him. I didn't know. I knew approximately what was going to go down, but I didn't know. He didn't tell me a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting next to him, and then when he sits there at the camp and he's telling them about his kids and all this stuff that you hear when people are trying to walk away, and then he says, "I want you to vote me out." I looked at him, and my son was in there, his wife was in there, he was in there. I looked at him, I said, "You just quit." And and I was like, "You just quit," and he didn't say nothing. Because it was just, when I heard that, I was like, "Holy crap!" I mean, the thing is with Survivor, hundreds of people check out of that game without quitting.
Mm-hmm.
They mentally just check out, and then they just hope for the best and float their way through the game. And I think Brandon checked out both times he played. I think the first time he checked out at the very end, gave his idol away. And this time he checked out, and then this was his giving his idol away. Him, going crazy and just going crazy on Phillips and pouring out their rice and beans. And I just, I can understand him getting upset, and I can understand all that. But this isn't the real world. This is a fantasy world in a game for $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that you got to leave that stuff at the door when you play the game. But he cannot do that. He's young. He doesn't have that capability, and that's not in him.
Oh, Russell, this wasn't what I thought you were going to say. I thought that you were I heard an interview with Brandon with Dalton Ross. He said that you were very proud of how he did last night.
Well, the thing is, he has to realize, the thing is, he stood up for himself. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's not going to get you to the end of the game.
Right.
I'm happy that he stood up for himself as a man. But like I said, this is, he failed in the game of Survivor. Now, personally, he did a good job. In the game of Survivor, he did a terrible job. You see what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. So could you elaborate on the difference? Because I think for a lot of people, they say, okay, Brandon, poured out the rice. He did, he's going to burn the camp down. Could you talk a little bit about what the difference is between that and burning Jason's socks or hiding the machete on the heroes or the villains?
Everything I did was a strategic play. Everything I did was for instance, my first season in 19 Samoa, I burned their socks, pulled out the waters, told this fake story about Katrina, all this stuff. Well, that was all for manipulating. That was all if I can control the way they feel, I thought I could control the way they think. It was all to make them weaker so I can try to get them to vote how I wanted them to vote. Brandon poured out their water because he poured out their rice because he just plain got mad.
Mm-hmm.
He got mad, he lost his temper, and he poured out the rice. I didn't do one single thing out there by losing my temper. Everything I did, I thought through, and everything I did was a way for me to get further in the game. Not to trust me. If I would have been Brandon, he had all kind of openings. He didn't have to go home. You know, I'm on the outside looking in, and I see all kind of windows he can go through to try to work his way into that game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just first of all, be patient and win the challenge, and then things happen. You know, I already see on the preview that Corinne was Phillip gone. So there you go. All of a sudden, you know, people going to get aggravated and want other people gone. So, you know, what he did by pouring out the rice wasn't right. It was just a way to go home, not to go further in the game.
Because you were in a similar situation in your third season in Redemption Island. You were on a tribe where you had a tribe that was going to that did throw a challenge so that they could get you out of the game. And I'm sure you knew that there was a good chance that you were going home. You could have, if you wanted to, said, "Okay, you're gonna vote me out. Fine. I'm gonna
pee in your rice.
I'm gonna do whatever." Yeah. But you, even though it didn't work, your Hail Mary came pretty close to working. If that one chick, what was her name? Julie?
Yes. If she would have switched that whole game, one person would have switched, that whole game would have changed, and the outcome would have been differently. One person.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were splitting the votes, they thought I had an idol, of course. And I just knew it. I was like, man, this would be a huge. And she would have went further in the game as a player. She made a huge mistake as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in my opinion. But anyway, yeah, the thing is look, I've been through the whole thing. You know, I've been through people bitching at me. I've been through Rupert hollering at me at the fire, and I'm just sitting down. I stay sitting. I have words with him, but I stay sitting. I don't get up, get in his face. They throw a challenge. Look what I do. I take it like a man. I go to Redemption Island, try to win my way back into the game. You know, try to get it to where I knew they were going to throw the challenge, but try to get it to where I can still work strategically and try to, you know, somehow make it to where we were one of them out, not me. So, you know, I've been through exactly what he's been through. And if people try to compare the two, there's no comparison at all. I don't go crazy in that game. I keep my cool, and I play the game.
Now, did you get annoyed last night when Jeff Probst started in? When he was, you know, they were doing this whole big thing, and Jeff Probst is like grabbing Brandon, and in the middle of the back rub, he's like, "Let me ask you a question. Is it in the blood?" And like, what? He's like, "Yeah, this behavior, is it in the blood?
Is it in the Hantz blood?"
Yeah,
yeah. That didn't even make any sense. I never played like that. You can see it. You know, and he knows I never played like that. But that's what he's supposed to do. He's the host.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the biggest villain in Survivor history. He's gonna throw my name out there because look what Brandon's doing. He's trying to, you know, go toe to toe with me. The thing is, look at the villains. Look what's happening to the villains. You know, the old school villains, Johnny Fairplay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was a villain because of a strategic play.
Right.
You know, I was a villain because of strategic. Now you got villains like Abby and Colton and Brandon. You know, the villains now are just mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's a good point.
They don't have any strategic play. They cuss at you. They call you. You know, they say negative things or whatever, and they're just aggravating, and that's why they're villain, because they're just aggravating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally not strategic.
By the way, did you happen to see Nicole was watching Kelly and Michael, the show?
I got all kind of response.
Did you see this?
I couldn't believe that.
Let me for people who didn't see it. For people who didn't see it, so Jeff Probst was a guest, and I thought that he was going to talk about the thing with Brandon, but they didn't even they didn't ask him about it or anything.
Didn't.
So that they asked him, "Who is your least favorite contestant ever?" And I thought he was going to say Johnny Fairplay.
Because that's usually his answer.
It's not like Johnny Fairplay. And he said, actually, my least favorite contestant is somebody who's very good on the show, Russell Hantz.
That insane.
Yes.
Wait, it gets it. There's more.
And he said now, and he's great on the show. And he said, Russell, I hope you come back and play the game again. I just hope you don't find out where I live, is what he said.
I know where he lives.
Whoa. Oh, no.
If he still lives in Malibu.
No, I don't think. Well, I don't know. I don't know for sure.
I think
sure
he
I can
found out that
find
you
out.
knew when he moved.
But Russell,
You better hope Brandon don't find out where he lives, not me.
Brandon's going to want another back rub.
yeah. Russell, I would tell you where I live so you can come and flip my house and get me some more money.
Yeah, damn.
That's what I would do.
That blows my mind because you have all of these players in history that quit the game. Are you telling me that he dislikes me more than Elka? They straight up quit? Just straight up walked out when she had an idol and she was going, she probably could have went to the end of the game easily.
Yeah.
But I don't understand that. I don't know if that was a TV thing or if that's what he really thinks, but it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Well, he wants you back, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, and you know what it might be? The people that he really hates the most, he doesn't even want to give them the press on TV. So it might be...
They, don't exist to him.
Yeah, if he really hated you, he wouldn't say your name.
Yeah.
and he did say, I hope you come back, but...
Don't come to my house.
Yeah. Now, are you guys concerned? I know that the Hantzes are all very close. Are you guys concerned about Brandon's well-being at all? I asked him this morning, has he had any treatment or anything? And he said, no. What treatment? What do I need treatment for? Are you guys worried about him?
He it's just weird. I mean, I talk to my mom about him all the time. We think that he does need to get some sort of counseling.
Yeah.
That's only the right thing. Even though you don't think he needs it, it's just the right thing to do. Just go talk to a psychiatrist. Nothing's wrong with that. Just talk to him and see if they can, find out what's going on in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Because look at his two games. His first game was he was a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
The second game, it's like, he's an antichrist. You don't even know Christianity whatsoever. So everybody says you don't play the second game the same, and he surely didn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is that a problem that his two influences are Jesus and you? Was that a problem?
And the devil.
Well, we don't want to say that.
No, he needs to. I mean, if he would have played that game like he played the first game, he would have went very far into the game.
Mm-hmm.
He probably should have played the same way.
People liked him.
But he was getting all kind of, this is what happened with Brandon. He'd come home, he's getting all kind of people telling him, crazy, you're close to playing like Russell. You ain't close. So all he's trying to do is trying to go to par with me. Mm-hmm. And then so he thinks the extreme villain, that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do that to be a villain.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was going to be considered the biggest villain to ever play. I never knew that. That was my game. That was my strategic play.
Mm-hmm.
To do what I was doing. I would laugh about it while I was doing it. It was just fun. And then, all of a sudden, I come home and then it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
When I start seeing the commercials. But
yeah.
I don't know. Brandon's just we're not. If anybody thinks that we're even close the same when it comes to playing that game, or even in real life, I mean, I'm not going to say I wasn't close to him when I was 18. You got to realize he's just a child.
He's young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and the things that you did in the game, nobody knew you did them. And everybody thought, at least the first time you played, that you were a nice guy. And even the second time you played, that, everybody for a while, especially remember, JT thought you were such a nice guy. He's sending you a note, sending you a letter.
You guys were BFFs.
Giving you an immunity idol. Yeah.
Yeah, I get a love letter from a previous winner. That's pretty cool. And when I merged, he's like, man, I knew you were just like me. I knew you was a good old Southern boy. I'm thinking, yep, I'm a good old Southern boy to my alliance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not my alliance, dude. I mean, think about it. Like when I played, the thing that blows my mind about me not winning the first season is my job is to get rid of the other alliance. That's what I thought it was. And then that's what I did, and I still don't win. You know? I'm like, what does she want me to do? Bake her cakes and cookies? I mean, I'm supposed to try to get rid of her.
Let me ask you about Phillip. Now, you and Phillip, you guys were actually on the same season originally. There was some sniping back and forth, but after the game, I feel like Phillip was always very positive about you. And Phillip was somebody who said, I know we've interviewed him a couple times. He said, I would play with Russell Hantz. I would make an alliance with Russell Hantz. Does this change your relationship with Phillip?
It's nope, not at all. I mean, why? You know, Phillip, we don't know the whole story what went out there, first of all, how drastic it really was. But I can guarantee you it had to be pretty bad for Jeff to be said, come over here, stand over here and physically hold him, you know, because they thought Brandon was, they thought that was it.
Yeah.
Like they separated him right off the bat. Nobody knows that part, but he was separated from the group for a long time. And they wasn't even filming it. So that's how bad it was.
Oh, wow.
So you know, Phillip, I don't see why you wouldn't align with Phillip. You know, look at his speech for the $1 million last time. You know, It's like it robbed the money. Basically.
So would you accept the position? What if they offered you a middle management position in Stealth R Us? Would you accept that position?
I would have to say I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my original name, and that's King Russell.
King Russell.
He can go ahead and be the specialist, working in my army.
Yeah,
I would play his little game with him. You know.
Yeah. Why not?
You have to play his little game. You have a little fun out there, and you know it's not like he's calling you bad names. It's just like, and the thing is, I think that he's getting way ahead of himself. To tell you the truth, I think that to be honest with you, I think he's trying too hard to be good TV. And, you know, he's just naming everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like they're pets.
Yeah, it is a little much.
You probably took it too far.
It is a little much.
That's you know, he's trying to get, he thinks that's going to get him further in the game, being a little crazy. I would play his game. I would do his thing. But the thing is, as far as I've ever seen, Phillip's pretty loyal.
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main thing out there. You find somebody that's loyal, no matter if they're crazy or not, you might as well run them to the end. You only got 39 days to put up with their craziness. And then if they're that crazy, hopefully you'll get the votes and they don't.
Right.
Russell, how about this guy Reynolds? Now he's finding idols left and right. Are you threatened when you see somebody who has the same idol hunting nose?
The thing is, I watched it again just now, and I was watching it. Everybody's looking for idols without clues. I wonder why they do that. You know, it doesn't even matter if they find 5 without clues.
It's the Russell effect.
Yeah.
Right. It's the fact that they're looking is how one part of how I changed the game.
Yeah.
You know, and I've seen this little thing somebody sent me on Twitter. It said, "Oh look, I found 2 idols. I can't believe it." And then it had a picture of me saying, "What did it say?" And it said, "Oh look, 2 idols. How cute."
Yeah. No, but really between the whole the idol frenzy and your nephew's on the show, people are, if you weren't on the show, what would Survivor be like in 2013?
It'd be really boring.
I know. It'd probably be over.
It could be. Who knows?
I'm serious. I think by this time it would be. I don't think it would still be going. I mean, I think that I had that much of an impact on the game. I was told that by an executive with CBS. So, and then when they did tell me that, when she told me that, I was like, I really appreciate that, because I like to have some sort of credit through, some pretty honorable stuff, when you have a main executive come to me and say, hey, we could have never lasted another season without that big heroes versus villains,
That was a good boom.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
Now, do you think at the end of the day, do you feel like maybe, Russell, were you too hard on Brandon the first time he played the game, and that he really wanted to go out of his way to impress you
He's redeeming
the
himself for
second
you.
time?
Right. Well, when you think about it, that that seems like maybe the problem, because I was hard on him, and maybe he just couldn't take it. And he went out there and he was like, "I'm gonna show him this time. I'm gonna show my family that I can do it." Well, it's just what can I do? What can I say? I don't even know if if whatever I say or do can help him.
He just wants you to say that you like that
you're proud of him.
Yes, just tell you're proud. You're proud of him, Russell.
Sit him on your knee and tell him you're proud of him.
And then everybody gets to keep their rice from now on. Nobody gets yelled at.
I think we need to separate the rice.
In that game that's embedded in me, that game I love so much, I have to say he did a good job when he didn't. Or just say I'm proud of him as a person. would have I mean, he had to change a lot before he gets that from me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's.
Luckily, he's young and he has time.
And
that's what I say. He's just young. Maybe get a little help, here or whatever, and he'll be okay.
Yeah. And how about Willie through all this? Now, Willie left Big Brother under similar circumstances this summer. Do you see any similarities between what went on with Willie leaving Big Brother and Brandon leaving Survivor?
Yeah, it's just everybody that I helped get on the show that's Hantz, they just screw everything up.
But it makes you look so much better.
It does, don't it?
Yes.
You see, there's a strategic thing in everything.
We see what you're doing.
Yeah.
We see what you're doing, Russell.
All right. Oh, Russell, I know we just wanted to get you on here tonight and get your thoughts on everything. I know everybody's dying to hear from you today. Thank you for coming on. Was there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest tonight?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, don't be a stranger, and thank you, Russell.
All right, man. No problem.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Bye, Russell.
All right, bye.
And so there you have it, Nicole. That was Russell Hantz. This whole thing could have been averted if Russell could just tell Brandon, "I'm proud of you." That's it's like this whole thing. It's like a Quantum Leap episode. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, okay, we gotta have. Oh, it's like I can't do a.
All he needed was a little heart to heart.
It's like, yeah, okay. You're gonna quantum leap into Russell Hantz in 2011, and all you have to do is tell Brandon that you love him, and boop boop boop. Okay, there's a 97% chance this doesn't happen anymore.
Brandon could have won this season.
Yeah,
he could have won.
Yeah, he would have won last season. He could have been the greatest player of all time, maybe.
And if he played with God again, it really could have been a whole different game.
Yeah. All right. Well. All right, so so what do you want to do now? You want to anything else you want to talk about, or you want to see if we get Edna?
Let's get Edna on the line. I'm sure she has a lot to say.
All right, so let's go right into Edna and get her on the line. Okay. 2 phone calls in 1 podcast, Nicole.
Our phone bill is going to be crazy.
This is a double ender.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Like that.
Hello, is this Edna Ma?
Yes, it is. Who's this?
This is Rob and Nicole's sister Nino.
Hi, Edna.
Hi, Nicole. Hi, Rob. How you doing?
We're doing great. How are you doing, Edna?
I'm doing well.
I love your energy. This is great.
Oh, it's exciting. I was anticipating your call.
Yes, very good. Well, Edna, this has been long overdue.
Yes.
Since Survivor South Pacific, we've been trying to get you on the show with us. This was we were afforded a great opportunity this week.
This is the perfect time to have you.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
We look at in Rob has a podcast language. Crisis and opportunity are the same character.
I can see that.
Yes.
I can see that.
So we are in the midst of a Hantz crisis with everything going on with Brandon. We know that you are a certified Hantzologist.
Mm-hmm. Word on the street.
In addition to being the inventor of both Bear Ease and Numbnuts.
Yeah. If that's what I can be famous for, I think that would be enough.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So we're got a lot of stuff to talk to you about, but let's start with let's not bury the lead, Edna. What was your thought as you were watching this all unfold last night?
Yes, really anticipating this particular episode, because on the preview last week, it kind of gave us a little glimpse of what was happening. And it was just so typical Brandon, except this time with the physical manifestation of throwing out the rice and the beans, and he just goes crazy. And I think it's probably easier to measure the frequencies in which he has normal periods. Is probably less, it's fewer times, because he gets crazy all the time.
So you're saying
So this is common behavior.
Yeah, there's like a half-life to it?
Oh, yeah. He's, in one of my previous, my previous tweets, I was with you as well, he really gets dark, and that's what I called it, his cloak of darkness during South Pacific. Whenever he starts thinking about his kids and his wife. At the time he played South Pacific, his wife was pregnant with his daughter, and then she, I think she was maybe about 6 months at that time, and his son was 18 months, and he felt terribly guilty at the time, leaving his family, and he said maybe I should just quit the game, and everything he said last time. Last night he said the first time too, but I think Coach did a really good job of like talking him off the ledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now, how many days were you with Brandon in Survivor South Pacific?
32.
32.
And one day with Ozzy, so I was eliminated on day 33.
All right. Well, we won't ask you about the day with Ozzy.
We'll save that for another
Fair
podcast.
enough.
We'll save that for another day. So,
Fair enough.
So in your 32 days with Brandon, how many times did this come up where he was thinking about leaving?
Pretty much every other day. Whenever there wasn't a challenge, that was pretty much when he wanted to leave.
So whenever he was bored.
Whenever he was bored, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And if he didn't have a task at hand, like cooking or trying to find an idol or getting ready for a challenge, like he gets easily distracted. And so he gets in his head and he starts just getting this cloak of darkness, I call.
Oh, it's like idle hands, Brandon.
Idle hands.
Yeah, he really, yeah, it's just really, it's really scary too, because I think if he wasn't playing the game Survivor, he would really probably get very violent. And yes, the poor guy, I know he's had a troubled childhood, and he's still very young. He's maybe 21 or 20.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was 19 when he played South Pacific. So I know that he's suggested he's had a physically abusive and probably a very psychologically abusive childhood.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now,
Still doesn't explain the behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a medical professional, I'm sure this behavior is, concerning to you. I mean, you see, some signs.
I'm not a licensed psychologist or psychiatrist. I do think he is bipolar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did the same thing he did last time. And he did what he did to Philip to me. Like he'll say some really mean stuff, and I do apologize about that. And he'll just do that every other day. Like he'll have an outburst, and then he'll apologize, and he'll have to outburst and apologize, and it's like so you just kind of feel like you get pulled in, and you're like, okay, maybe how long will this? It's like a bad boyfriend, like you one that you need, you need to break up with, but he just like turns sweet again, and you think everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So is that a warning to anyone in a bad relationship, Edna? It's not going to be okay?
It will be okay on the other side.
And one day he's just going to come in and dump out all your rice?
Oh, man.
I would have been so
pissed.
pissed.
Locked all my doors for that. What was that, Nicole?
I would have been so pissed if he dumped the rice.
All right, let's go back. Let's pretend that this happened at the Apulu tribe, okay? And you guys, am I pronouncing that right? I know it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like Upolu 6, I guess. The 5 plus Edna and Cochran.
Oh.
Okay. So you guys, it's day 13 over by you guys, and Brandon, starts to get suspicious that they think that he might be the next one to go. And so he takes it out and dumps out all of the food for you guys. What's that like for you guys at that point? What's going through your mind at that point?
I think a lot of you're just like in a state of shock. It's like, are you seeing what you're actually seeing? Like people were not really aware what was going on. Like people were kind of in their own conversations, doing whatever their chores are around the camp, and all of a sudden, like, Brandon comes charging through and starts stumping things up. I think just people, like, in a state of shock. And so I think you just want to stop him. You don't know what the cause is. You don't know what's happening, and then he just goes crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it had to have been very, because it's like, what do you do? Do you tackle him? I mean, what can you do? And could you take him down?
He's strong.
He's a big guy. That's how he's hard to take down.
Yeah, I mean, he's not big in stature, but he's very like
as my mother would say, he's built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah, he's like Maurice Jones-Drew. Like, he's hard to tackle.
Yes.
Yes, he is. He is indeed the first of the walkouts, and so he's the shortest in stature. And he likes to call himself a Mack truck. He used that analogy a lot.
I could see it.
Yeah. He just charges at whatever he wants to.
Now, one of the things that I've heard a few times from people from your season, talking to them, including I spoke to Jim Rice last week, a lot of people say that Brandon could have easily won your season. Had he gotten to the final three, he probably would have won, because for the most part, people thought he was a sweet kid and they liked him. Did you find that to be the case? Did you think that if Brandon got to the end of the game, he would win?
Well, Survivor's is a game of relativity, so it depends on who he was sitting next to.
Right.
And so I have a very different relationship with Brandon than Jim does.
Okay.
So I think that he maybe saw one side of it, and then I was with Brandon all before the merge. And so I got to see a lot more of the fluctuations. And I think that I can't say that I would have voted for Brandon if he was in the final three. I would disagree with Jim.
Who did you voted for Sophie, or you voted for Coach?
I voted for Coach. So the three people who voted for Coach, me, Cochran, and Rick, I think that we spent, so ironically, we were the ones who spent some of the most time with him, with Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we could probably go on all night about Brandon, but let's talk about some of these other players in the game who you did also play with, and you mentioned the 5+ Edna and Cochran. What have you thought about Cochran? And I know that Brandon, in interviewing him this morning, he was very upset with Cochran.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to forgive Dawn, but he was very upset with Cochran.
Well, Dawn is easily forgivable.
Yes, he was very upset with Cochran for betraying him and turning on him in this game.
How?
Was he talking about the last game?
No, this one. No. He flipped to them in the last game. I guess going back to the first vote, I think that he felt like Cochran and Dawn were with the group that was voting with Francesca, and they switched to the Phillip group. So he was upset with Cochran about that. So what's your take on Cochran here so far in this new season, Edna?
Overall, Overall, I'm a huge Cochran fan. I think that's
who's not?
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
stated.
Who isn't?
Who's not? But I'm particularly fond of him since I know how it was with him the first season, and this Cochran that I see on TV now is like a totally different individual. He's got like so much more confidence and swagger.
He's got swag, yeah.
Yes, he does. And so it's an amazing transformation for me to see that. And so, and I think that confidence really, really comes through. Now I forgot what the question actually was.
Yeah, that's fine. We're just talking about Cochran, the transformation that he's made. What about Dawn? Have you seen a transformation in Dawn from your South Pacific season?
She right now seems very similar to how she was in South Pacific, like being the mother of the camp, making sure the shelter is built, and she was very, very tearful in the first episode that I remember, and that's very like she just wears her emotions right out in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that this particular season has been so tough in terms of the elements that I think that is just makes people even more vulnerable.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a tough weather season, and I said it last night with Steven. Whenever the weather starts getting tough, that's when you
it gets
hear
crazy.
people. That's when people start talking about quitting. Nobody's really talking too much about quitting
when they're sunbathing.
When it's sunny. Although I was corrected on Twitter by one of the longtime Survivor producers that Kathy Sleckman quit on a sunny day. But there's other circumstances at play there, as from our recent interview with Kathy. But for the most part, most people quit after some very bad rain, and that was the case.
Nyanka, particularly in Purple Kelly, is what I'm thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Now, how come Nyanka and Purple Kelly didn't get rub downs from Jeff when they were talking about wanting to go out of the game?
I was so jealous. I'm like, the more angry he got, it's moved into from a Swedish massage into deep tissue.
Yeah.
That was I was quite envious.
Yes, I was very jealous.
Yeah.
Now, didn't you give Coach a massage like that also?
You did give him quite a good massage.
I walked on. Actually, I've walked on all my tribe members, but they don't show that.
Did you give Brandon a massage during Survivor South Pacific?
Brandon was very particular about me not being married and going out there. Why was I, cuddling with who I was cuddling with that night? There was a lot of judgment there. So with him, I did not walk on his back. I walked on Albert and Sophie and whoever else wanted to be massaged, but not Jeff.
So do you think if it escalated more with Brandon, do you think that Jeff would have then walked on Brandon's back?
Yeah, would Jeff have walked on his back next?
Yeah, I think he would have been it would have been a man embrace. That would have been really good.
Well, Edna, but maybe you could have disarmed the bomb that whole time in Survivor South Pacific if you only knew that the massage was the key to getting Brandon to decompress.
Who knew?
I mean, this is why I should play again. But in all seriousness, I think that Dawn's very much the same right now. Maybe watching her reaction last night as she was trying to prevent herself from hyperventilating, I felt as though she just looked more vulnerable there than I had seen her in South Pacific.
Yeah, she looked exhausted.
Yeah. I don't know. If I was with them, it's I would be upset about the whole thing with the rice, but I don't know why everybody on the mat was so upset about Brandon is going to leave the game. I mean, I think I'd be upset if they told me he's not leaving. He's coming back with us. I don't think that's why they were upset.
They were upset that it was a tornado in their camp.
I guess so. They felt bad for him. Was that what it was?
I don't think they felt bad. I think there
maybe
was a
Dawn
lot of
felt
things.
bad for him. But
I think there was a lot of things that they were feeling, and
yeah.
it was a hard
what
situation.
I would be thinking? It'd be okay, just as long as I'm not being voted out, it's another day on Survivor for myself.
Yeah.
I feel like, Rob, you would be totally douche-tastic Reynolds, and you'd be smiling. And
no, only in my head. Edna, were you saying as you were watching this last night, why couldn't Brandon have done this on my season and kept me around longer?
If he'd done it a little bit earlier, I mean, it was just he was on. It would have been great if he just had walked off and oh great, here I am. Final 5.
One more day, 3 more days.
Yeah. So I want to know about the difference between, there have been 2 sort of alpha male figures in Brandon's Survivor playing career. And one was Coach, who had a very good relationship with Brandon and was able to rein him in a great way. Able
his
to
buffer.
Really control him. And I think it was a good thing for Brandon.
Absolutely.
Kept him from flying off the handle. But then you have Philip, who a lot of people compare to Coach as being similar. But this time it did not work out for Philip. And Brandon could not stand Philip. What did you think about the job that Philip tried to do? And how is that different than Coach's approach?
I think also you have to say that Brandon is slightly different too, because Coach will kind of talk him down from the ledge, and then Brandon was probably a little bit more receptive. Every single tribal council, like Brandon said, he cried every episode. He was crying, and so he's having a meltdown, but he's not crying in these episodes or in the last few episodes. And I think that Brandon himself is trying to be somebody different or perceived as stronger. And I think that there is a lot of similarities between Coach and Philip. I know that Philip can rub people the wrong way, and I think that you just have to accept that for being Philip. I don't think that once you get to know Coach, it comes off as self or us, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel like you're part of the polo, but you don't feel like you have a tagline or a name like the Dominatrix or Serenity or whatever it is.
Yeah, but Coach has
So-
been known to give out some nicknames too in his
Here
time.
and there he does.
He
Yes.
Yes, he
nicknames
does.
Stephen Fishback the Wizard. He names Cochrane Hercules.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of similarities there, and so I do see it. It's just I don't know if it's the Brandon factor trying to come in, being like I'm going to write my own destiny. You guys aren't going to do it. I do feel like that's a lot of it. And if he was just like lay low, let him be the alpha figure. I think that he kept saying, I want to write my own destiny, and I want to be my own author. I think that has a lot to do with the way Brandon is trying to project himself.
Yeah. I think also Coach was more nurturing with Brandon. And I think Brandon is just kind of looking for that like father figure, and Coach was able to do that.
But I disagree here. I agree with what you're saying, but but here's the thing. But when he watched the episodes, Coach was really not looking out for his best interests, and so now
Absolutely.
now he was scorned by that, and I think he really came into this season and said, "I'm not going to let anybody hurt me again." And he's almost like a woman who's had her heart broken, or a guy that's had his heart broken.
But I think that
I'm not going to get hurt again. And I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing for Brandon. I forget. I've seen so many Brandon interviews. I don't know if it was the secret scene or with Dalton Ross or an interview that I read, or maybe when he talked to me. But he said, I didn't cry once this season.
And that's what he was proud
Yes,
of.
Yes.
that was something that he really he said last night, and he said and even though you're not crying, you're still having a meltdown.
You're doing something else.
To me, that
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same category, and it I don't know. He obviously sees a distinction there.
Yeah, and they tricked me once, and he talked about Albert too.
Yeah.
With Dalton Ross, he said that Albert boasted that he mind effed him, which whatever.
Not hard.
But so anyway, he felt like I got duped. I got taken advantage of by people. I'm going to show them I'm not going to get taken advantage of again. And then once he found out that the writing
Well,
was
why
on
sign up for Survivor? I mean, that's the name of the game.
Yeah. I know, but it was like, hey, I'm not going to let this, no matter what, nobody's going to get to have the last say, and this is what I'm going to do. So if I think for 1 second I'm going to get voted out, I'm pulling the ripcord. I mean, from day 3 was when he started with, I'm going to burn down the shelter.
Yeah.
So he had to have had this in his back pocket going into this game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah, and that for sure. Like there was a little bit of foreshadowing, if you will, but but that's kind of, I think that's kind of always in him, that kind of violent side, if you will.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that Jeff did an amazing job at I'm quoting their tribal council,
The impromptu tribal council.
handling the chaos.
Right. Yeah. Didn't Jeff do a great job, Edna? Were you impressed?
I was impressed by the way he handled him, but I kind of wanted to see a little bit more drama.
I think that Jeff was just scared that Brandon was gonna bash some heads.
Yeah. What did you want to happen?
It would have been great to see like some security guard
brawl.
for the
Like
bushes
Jerry
come running.
Springer.
Yeah, like Steve the security
I
guard.
think that's a different network.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Edna is evil.
Wow, Edna.
Yeah.
Hey, it's TV.
It's good ratings.
Didn't
The
you take
hands. That's like it's a lost opportunity there.
Edna? Didn't you take a Hippocratic oath to ours?
I'm just an innocent bystander observer here.
She's not working as a doctor right now.
All right. You're not working for the mental health of anybody.
Yes.
I do feel as though he kind of probably through all that license made a huge scene because he knew he was going out. So like, what does he have to lose at this point?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to hate him no matter what. So might as well just like add a little bit icing on that.
I love Rice. It makes me so upset that he wasted that.
And what do you think about the technique for the rice? That he dumped it all on the ground, they were able to recover it. Do you think he should have thrown it up in the air, like
52 card pickup?
more like a wedding?
Whatever happens is just going to bring more rats. And so that was the first thing I thought. I'm like, oh, rats.
Edna's sadistic.
This is a whole other side
know.
of you we're seeing.
Yeah.
Well, it was not made for TV. This other stuff.
Now we know why you're such good friends with Corinne.
Now it's all making sense.
You know-
Corinne was
Yeah,
I think she's only, you can't see so much of her right now. She's been kind of invisible.
I think a lot of people have been invisible this season because of, the craziness with Brandon and Philip.
Well, let's talk about Corinne, because we first found out before your season, Corinne did a preview and said, okay, well, somebody from this season is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And we guessed and we guessed and we guessed every guy that was on the season. And we wouldn't have known that it was actually a woman that was Corinne's friend from the season. And so, and of course, it was you. So tell us, how are you friends with Corinne, and what have you thought about your friend this season?
So Corinne actually was a pharmaceutical rep, and she called in my husband's office. And my husband's a ENT.
Uh-oh. Now, would that make you nervous?
And so I was like, oh. And so I didn't know her. I just knew that she had this reputation of being this huge villain, not to be trusted. So there was a chance that she was supposed to come back for South Pacific. And I was nervous that she was going to come back because I didn't know if I could trust her or anything. Over the course, since my season had filmed, she's actually really great. And so she's really funny and witty. So it can rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, but Edna, you weren't nervous that she was calling your husband?
Oh, no. So calling on, like, to sell drugs, whatever. Like a sample.
Okay.
Wowzer.
Wow. All right. Yeah.
I trust my husband.
All right, good.
We're in a final 2 alliance.
Good.
Oh, that's good. That's
very
We're
good.
in a final 3.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm sure a lot of women would get nervous if Corinne was calling their husband.
She's great, though.
Yeah,
And
she had a lot to say last night, at least for the first time this season. Probably the most we saw her.
Yeah, we want more Corinne.
But she was like the spokesperson for the tribe at the big summit, and she had like a whole speech.
Yeah.
She's like, Jeff.
I think the good thing, she doesn't get crazy emotional like that. So I think that because she's able to maintain her composure, that helps a lot to be able to eloquently state what the tribe was wanting for them.
She was like up in front of Congress. She was like, I would like to call a formal petition to, and in the appropriate venue, I'd like to schedule a meeting of, yeah. Very formal for Corinne last night. And
so who are you rooting for?
Oh, well, Edna, as a journalist, I have to try to be neutral.
Since he's so professional.
Try to be professional.
I'll ask Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so for Corinne, I thought she was in trouble too. That she was starting to get Brandon's ire after she addressed Jeff Probst at the Met.
Yeah, I think she's been she's on a couple people's target, Andrea,
mm-hmm.
and so I don't know if how strong her alliance is with Malcolm.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, and so. Now, the South Pacific, if you will, alliance with Don, Brandon, and Cochran. Brandon's gone. Now we have the Redemption Island. And then so we don't know how that's going to kind of shift. It's going to be very exciting coming up in the next few episodes for sure.
Especially now that they're going to do looks like a tribe swap, right?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
That's coming up down the line a little bit here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Dawn and Cochran. That they really seem to be in a position to be the swingers here, and this is not an unfamiliar position for Cochran because it really seems like whatever direction they choose to go here is probably going to be the direction that has the majority.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's for sure, and I think that they're going to be they're a survivor couple, not like
Whitney and Keith. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess they're engaged.
Yes.
But,
are you invited to Whitney and Keith's wedding, Edna?
I have not been invited. Have you?
Not you. Well, no, but I don't know them.
We're waiting by our mailbox for the invitation.
Oh, I'll let you know. I'll send a tweet.
Yes.
But there'll be probably they're a voting block, if you will, and so that can be dangerous or it could be used used to their advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you a question about the long-term impact from what we saw here last night. So do we feel like, I felt like this was probably edited in a positive light, would you say? Would you feel like this was a positive or a negative? I mean, they made a big deal about it on the show.
I think it's edited in a positive light. I'm sure this tirade went on for like hours, and they just cut. And in my experience, it's limited, but the way that they cut Brandon in South Pacific was very favorable.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I think that they did a good job
through
this time. This time, so you can kind of see where he's kind of making his point, and I think it was probably done in his favor.
Do we think that to some degree now, has the game been changed? And hear me out. So let's say now it's Survivor 27 and there's somebody on the game and it's the first vote and it's pretty obvious they're going to get voted out, 8-1 at the first tribal council of Survivor 27. The person says, okay, fine. You're going to vote me out. Well, if you guys are going to vote me out tonight, now I'm going to XYZ. I'm gonna pee in the rice. I'm gonna cut the shelter down. I'm gonna burn all of your stuff and
cut holes in the tarp.
And that's what I'm gonna do. And nobody, unless you blindside somebody,
because there's no repercussions for it.
Anybody who is going to go out of the game. If this could be a thing.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because people are gonna say, "Hey, I don't want to have a boring vote off episode. I'm going out with a bang." So yeah. And it's almost like, sort of like, it's kind of kamikaze Survivor, where it's like, hey, if I'm going out, you're gonna take me out. I'm taking, this is all about me, and I'm gonna throw a temper tantrum and watch me.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a Brandon Hantz, basically.
Yeah, but I think it takes a certain personality to do that. Like a rational person or their mind wouldn't even go there.
I think we're gonna see this again.
I think we'll see it again. That's for sure. And I think you make a very good point. And I feel like you see people kind of knowing their fate is coming, and you just like there's some this dumping of emotional baggage or whatever they have to say at tribal council before their flame is torched. I do see it potentially a game changer, but you have to be very confident that you're going to be out of the game. He's going this kamikaze style.
Yeah.
Otherwise, for sure, the next time you'll be on the chopping block.
I just think it comes down to a lack of sportsmanship. It's like
it's disturbing.
When you sign the paper and you agree to go on the game, it's like you're in the game until you get voted out. And it's like if you think you're going to, once you realize that you're going to lose, you still have to go to tribal council. You still have to get your torch put out. Otherwise, we don't have a show. So just because you're going to lose, you still have to bite the bullet.
You can't have a temper tantrum.
You can't just walk off the show and say yes, take the ball and screw you guys. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I hope that they make that rule because I think, at least for our season, they told us if you guys quit, you're not allowed to be on the jury.
Oh.
If you get it to that part. That's what we were told.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting where if they say, okay, if you are removed from the game due to like you don't get your money or whatever it is. And I think maybe we need to put that into effect.
I think so, definitely.
We talked about this sort of stuff after Nyanka and Purple Kelly where it's like, okay, if you just like what you're saying, like if you quit, you're not on the jury. I think if you leave the game under these sort of circumstances where the tribe is getting rid of you because you're being destructive. And again, we talked to Russell earlier tonight, not like, oh, I'm going to burn this guy's socks when he's not looking and create, that's not having a tantrum and a tirade. I think that you need to, right. If you are, that should be. If
you're becoming threatening and violent.
Yeah. Your contract is voided and you don't get your money.
You don't get your money. You don't come back for the finale.
And you don't get to come to the finale. What do you think?
And we're not talking about hiding.
And no reality rally.
Philip.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a difference. When you are saying, hey, I'm being voted. If you're going to vote me out, here's what I'm doing. And maybe it needs to be the players need to be better at hiding their intentions. And you can't let people know that it's probably a bad idea anyway. But every vote has to be a blind side.
that would definitely change the game if every vote was a blindside, because you can't strategy. It's confusing about who's going to be voted out anyway, and then who do you vote for and all this stuff. What was I going to say?
Yeah, but then you get blabbermouths that can't keep their mouth shut, and then.
Yeah. I mean, where does it end though? Then if you blindside somebody at tribal council, then what if they took Brandon to tribal council, let him think he was staying, then they blindsided him? And would he have just gotten up and strangled Philip?
It's a possibility.
I mean, what do you
that would have been great TV.
Do they have security on hand?
It's a good
Do
question.
they have guys in black shirts?
Not like that, but I think they have like people who are available to protect the players,
from each other.
And the players probably would protect each other just out of a defensive action, but I'm sure there'd be people jumping out behind their cameras or something just to protect them. I would hope.
I know we've singled out Brandon a lot, and probably rightfully so.
I mean, this is what we just saw.
But what happens if last week? What if Shamar decided he was going to wring Reynolds' neck last week, or at one of these tribal councils?
Yes.
I mean, what could they do? Do they have like a tranquilizer gun to take down Shamar?
Who's going to get in between Shamar?
I know.
Shamar was pretty big.
Yeah.
I don't think. I would think it had to take a lot to because where Jeff is, where the medical team is, it's not. Jeff had to come on a boat, and they evaluated Shamar with his eye, corneal abrasion or whatever he had. It takes a while. So I mean, you could, if you seriously wanted to inflict some physical injury on somebody, you could before they arrive.
Yeah.
They need like bouncers.
Well, yeah, like at the challenge, if Brandon tried to take Philip down at the challenge, there would have been people around. But where we saw in the episode, there
was no one around.
Like if we go back like a week or two with that tribal council where they come back and the Shamar is screaming at everybody. I mean, there's like one guy there with a camera. I mean,
he's just gonna keep recording.
Yeah, it's late at night after tribal council. There's two tops people there. I mean, if Shamar wanted to like take Eddie and Reynolds and knock their heads together, I mean, who was gonna stop them? Sherry?
Mm-hmm.
Like
she does have some guns.
Yeah, she would be pretty ineffectual.
I don't know. I think it's something that we need to be on the lookout for, because I know a lot of people have been, a lot of the coverage of this has been, should they have even had Brandon back?
That was my next thing. Like, CBS is taking a lot of heat right now for even just bringing him back.
He's great TV. The whole episode last night probably got more ratings than the Jeff Probst show.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
You're probably right.
So he's really good for TV. So it's like, what do you do? Like they're really great for ratings, and he does have like a following. Some people really love him, some people really hate them, the Hantz family. But at the end of the day, they're good for the television ratings. So it's a real bind that they're in.
But if he kills somebody,
yeah, and I'm not even specific. I'm not. Totally specifically talking about Brandon Hantz right now. But, if somebody, how do we...
He has suggested that he wants to come back for a third time in some of his exit interviews.
Yes, I know. I know. Edna, do you think this is a good idea?
You see, it's not that easy of a question. People, part of me just wants to see him on TV because he's so great. Like, you want to see, give him a chance to strangle somebody.
She's so twisted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, this is a terrible role model. Why should we be letting somebody like him be on TV? Mm-hmm. Because he's so unpredictable.
Yeah, this is prime time.
I would have to say that, coming into this, I thought there's no way that we would see Brandon Hantz again.
Right.
But I kind of feel like from the reaction of Jeff and from what I've read, I don't think it's totally out of the question.
I don't think so either, and I think that's a bit absurd.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because that's why what's her face, that toddler girl with the
Honey Boo Boo?
What's her face?
Honey Boo Boo has a television program. I mean, that's the society we live in now.
Should they add Brandon Hantz to Honey Boo Boo?
Honey Boo Boo is going to be like, it'll be the Honey Boo Boo and Brandon Hantz show.
I think we have a hit. I think we have a complete hit right now.
That's what our society has come to.
Yeah. I think that the show got lucky here with Brandon Hantz.
Mhm.
It's like they got the explosion. They got this, iconic sort of moment.
Right.
Nobody got hurt. I think they were very lucky.
Yeah.
And I think that they would be foolish to tempt fate again, whether it's with Brandon or anybody else who is, shows even a little bit of signs of being unstable. I think that they have ways of testing for this, and I think that maybe that area should be looked at maybe with a little bit more.
I would have liked to have been present on his ink blot test.
Yeah.
They like those people who are very borderline like that, who's unpredictable.
But he's beyond. He's not borderline.
Yeah, I know.
He's beyond borderline.
But here's the problem. Now, Survivor's a TV show, and they want people who are going to create conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things. Who's going to fight with each other? But it's like a fine line we're walking now, because now we want people who are going to fight and get in each other's faces and scream at each other and argue, but not people that are going to be destructive and hit each other.
Yeah.
So
right.
Sometimes we're going to get it right, and sometimes we're not. We'll see what the course correction is for the show. Like, whereas Dalton Ross talked about this a lot with Brandon I think you over course corrected where you played a okay game the first time, but you went too far the other way the second time around. Now, we'll see what Survivor does. Is Survivor going to the show in Survivor 27? Are we going to see more people that are very like short fuses and people who could, just like go off at any second and, we love this? Or is Survivor going to try to cast people who are, more docile to avoid a situation that could get ugly? Or no course correction?
It's so hard because they were getting criticized, like, oh, these first few episodes so boring, and then this. So
there's got to be a happy medium.
Yeah. Is it people are never happy? Is that the problem, Edna?
That's just the way it is.
Right.
Yeah, but then you get somebody like Corinne who is, pretty even-tempered, but has a really sharp tongue that can have an altercation with somebody and still be normal.
That's true. Corinne hasn't had any altercations with people, but she has a really good secret scene this week talking about how what Brandon Hantz did is definitely a quit. If you watch any secret scenes this week, watch Corinne's. It's a very strong one for Corinne.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, very good. So we've spent so much time on the favorites and on Brandon. Let's talk about the fans real quick for a couple of minutes. We have a little bit of a shifting of the guard, or changing of the guard, where it was Sherry so much for the first 4 episodes, but she seems to have been in the post-Shamar, post-Laura world. Her role seems to be very diminished in the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's for sure. I'm very curious as to what franchise she owns, because it probably just would reflect a lot on her personality, I think.
I think we know. I think we know. Here, you keep talking.
Let's refer to our friend Google.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I think that obviously this gives more power to Eddie and Reynolds, who I'm rooting for. I really like the energy that I see from Reynolds.
I think I just like looking at him.
He's just like made for Survivor, right? Just walk around in a shirt. He actually reminds me a lot of Bradley Cooper.
B. Coop?
That's some high praise. Bradley Cooper's a dreamboat.
That's true.
All right. Let's take
maybe a skinnier version.
Yeah.
All right.
A douchier version.
All right. So Sherry, here's what she owns. This is according to the National Enquirer. Do you want to guess, Nicole?
I feel like it's like a Subway or like a Quiznos.
Okay. She owns.
That's what I was guessing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like it's got to be something sort of healthy.
She owns one of Nicole's favorites. 2 Wetzel's pretzels.
I love Wetzel's pretzels.
Yes. 2
cool.
Jimmy John sandwich shops.
Oh wow.
A Cinnabon, and a Haagen-Dazs.
Oh, so she's doing very well for herself.
She's a smart lady.
How is she so skinny?
I want Wetzel's pretzels.
Yes. Well, maybe, yes. Much like when Edna was on Survivor, she sent us some Bear E's. Maybe Sherry will send you
Sherry, listen up.
Some Wetzel's pretzels.
She needs to get you a gift card.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
My mouth is watering.
What would you rather have, Nicole? Dawn's bread or Sherry's Wetzel's pretzels?
Dawn, I love you, but I'm sorry, Wetzel's pretzels will always win.
I agree. I agree.
This could be a third contender in the Dawn Holly Hoffman Bake Off on Twitter. I think
Yummy.
so. Yes, the Wetzel's pretzels. All right, so Reynolds seems to be in a good spot going forward here. He has an idol. I feel like the Reynolds campaign. I feel like has gained some steam here now.
But I don't get it. Okay, so they went to tribal council last week. They got rid of Laura because they needed to be weak. They needed muscle. So they go into the challenge. They still lose. And Reynolds' muscle. Why wasn't he holding the rope if they were keeping him for muscle? Why was he throwing? Like, he should have been there holding the rope.
In fairness, if anybody should be throwing, it's Reynolds. From what we've seen through 5 episodes, the guy is like, he can go to a
very
carnival.
Good hand.
And throw,
He's very good hands.
He has good hand-eye coordination.
Okay, but it's not working.
Okay, well, that was, I don't know. Who were the 2 people holding the ropes for the fan? I know that it was Mike, and who was the other one?
Eddie, wasn't it?
I think it was Eddie.
Mike and Eddie. It was like really, they really could have used Shamar there.
Yeah. Okay.
That really would have been Shamar. It's like, it would have been the perfect challenge for him. It's like, hey, Shamar, just
sit here.
Yeah, just
sit here and do nothing.
Just lie here and hold
Keep
this
your
rope.
eyes closed.
Yeah, Shamar, just sit on this rope here for take a nap like, on this rope. That would have been perfect for Shamar. Unfortunately, he's not there. And I think what happened was it really made Brandon upset because what the fans tried to do was they put all the coconuts on Brandon.
They got Brandon out first.
And then they went to Phillip.
And it made him look like the hero.
And then and Brandon is strong. How many pounds did he hold
built
it
like
on
a
that
brick shithouse.
in that challenge that you guys had, Edna, where he set the record.
Like 220 pounds or something like that. It's crazy.
So then Brandon wore them out while they were throwing. They got tired throwing all the coconuts in Brandon's thing. And then Phillip held on there, and Jeff says, Phillip wins immunity.
And then we were talking about this last week. Like, Jeff needs to cool it with, calling people out for winning the challenge.
That really put Brandon over the edge.
This is all Jeff's fault.
Jeff did not care for
it. Jeff is deliberately doing that.
Yeah.
So Jeff is egging on Brandon.
Well, we'll see.
He says things like, Sherry is totally useless in this challenge.
Yeah, he did say that.
That wasn't nice, Jeff.
That wasn't nice. Did you feel bad for Matt with his feet?
Oh,
that was disgusting.
I really like Matt. I can't identify with the way he looks or everything that is
his dead
persona
person
or
feet.
outward appearance. But when he speaks and when his line of reasoning and thinking, it really jives with me. He's really funny. He's like, I've got dead people feet or whatever.
Yeah. Does Matt have zombie feet? And if he scratches you with one of his toenails, do you get zombie feet?
Probably.
Yeah, but I would still cuddle with him if I was in the shelter. My goodness, I'd hide under his beard.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'd be scared of what's going to crawl out of it.
No kidding.
Yeah. All right. So we have a lot of questions here for you, Edna, from the listeners of Rob Has a Podcast. These, of course, come to us on our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Rob Has a Podcast. All right. Are you ready for this, Edna?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Jeremy Zare wants to know, how jealous do you think everyone else was that they didn't get a vigorous shoulder massage from Jeff Probst? People want to talk about the massage.
Mm-hmm.
I think both straight and gay people were very jealous.
Okay. Whoa.
For sure.
Well, who wouldn't like a back rub?
Exactly. I'm sure Jeff smells great and fantastic, and he's getting straight guys would probably be jealous, and gay guys would be jealous too. I'm sure.
Yes.
All soft.
Soft hands.
Jason Black wants to know, what is Brandon's worst outburst, not counting this one? If you had to pick.
It's there's so many little things. I think
so many to choose from.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little ones. Like he in my season obviously had the meltdowns pretty much every single tribal council where he couldn't really keep a secret in terms of the direction of the vote. But then the way he treated Kayla was like, oh, you're not really part of the alliance. And the way he treated me, it's like, you're not really part of the alliance. And it's this back and forth and back and forth. But I don't know if you consider this an outburst, but at our reunion show, he said that none of his family was there.
I remember.
Mm-hmm.
To support him. But I talked to Russell that night, and he's like, well, the reason why they're not there is because Brandon sold all his tickets.
Yeah, Russell said that on the podcast.
Russell did say that. I feel like I don't know if that was ever verified, though.
Russell told me this.
Well, if Russell said it, then it's true.
Okay,
If
fair
Russell
enough.
said yeah, so I don't know if you consider that an outburst.
I don't think that's an outburst, Edna.
That's just
Definitely sort of
crazy.
like a quiet outburst.
That he's an entrepreneur.
He is. You have to give him some credit for that.
Yes.
You're
think
such
they
a
have-
the glass is half full kind of guy, Rob.
Yes, he's a business person, just like Edna.
He's a capital society. I just don't think you should just throw your family under the bus like that. So.
I don't think you should lie to America.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really lie. He just said none of my family are here with me. I mean,
That's true. That was true.
So,
But he knew what he was doing. He was manipulating the American people and some Canadians
All right. So,
and Australians.
Mark Solero wants to know, Edna, how's the baby?
oh, he's so sweet. Thank you for asking. He just turned 10 months, and
Oh.
he's really, really sweet.
And
I'll
what's
have to put him in the buff.
what's the baby's name?
His name is Dean. It's an anagram of Edna.
Oh, Dean, that's a cute name.
Edna, are you big into anagrams?
Well, I just really love words with friends, and so we're just like playing around. So
Oh, because Rob really just likes anagrams.
Yeah, that's fun.
really, and so also has no R's or L's, so it'd be pronounceable for my Chinese parents.
Oh, that's good thinking.
Yeah. Well done. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Matt Cowan will say, who would win in a true street fight, Brandon or Philip? Now, this came up during the episode last night. Philip said, I'm a street fighter during the thing.
What?
Yes. When they were at the mat, it came up, and Philip said, you're going to mess with me? I'm a street fighter.
What does that even mean, Philip?
He's a street fighter. He fights in the street.
I think if there were like no rules,
He rollerblades in
no
Santa
rules?
Monica. He's not a street fighter.
He has a height advantage and a reach.
Yeah.
All right,
he
let's.
does. He does. I think he's probably, if there were rules like MMA, I think they're probably Philip probably could win.
Oh, so
But if there were no rules, we can fight, and there's like just true street fighting, and there's like no cut protection, I think Brandon would win.
yeah. Okay, I agree with that.
Like if you just play totally dirty, no rules, like nothing, just all go crazy, I can just bite one of your gonads off.
Whoa.
I feel like probably Brandon.
I think my
Real-
money would still be on Brandon.
Yeah, I would take Brandon, I think, in just about any form of hand-to-hand combat. I think I would go with Brandon, just because Brandon seems to dislike Philip much more than Philip dislikes
angry.
Brandon.
He's angry.
And yeah, I think Philip at the end of the day
But you
doesn't want to get his hands that dirty.
Maybe you can give, who knows, maybe he has like special agent training. You got to give,
Oh,
never
yeah.
know.
But Brandon's like a wrestler and a boxer too.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
scrappy.
Yeah, he's scrappy. With all due respect to Philip, I think that Brandon's just he's like a Tasmanian devil.
Yeah,
you don't want to.
I think Brandon's got this one.
You don't
want
wanna mess with him.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think Brandon is the real street fighter.
I really like Philip, so I just try to throw him, something.
Oh, you're a good friend.
Yeah, that was nice. Keith Dixon wants to know, do you know how to make any other items of clothing out of tree mail, Edna? Now, everybody remembers you made a visor out of tree mail. Can you make anything else out of tree mail?
I probably could make several other things out of tree mail, like probably like a skirt or something, if I had enough pieces of tree mail. That would be fantastic. And like that hat that Philip and Coughlin were wearing, I'd probably make some rice paddy farmer hat. That would probably be really, really conducive for keeping the sun off. I could probably make several of those.
You're such a smart lady.
So crafty. Yeah.
If you just get really bored, really.
All right. David Vulcan wants to know, do you think that Brandon could use some numbnuts right now? Could Brandon use any of your products, Edna?
Most definitely. I think that was probably the problem. He was a little bit more metro, and probably he'd probably just have everything.
So you think his nuts are on fire?
Like take it down a notch, yeah.
So,
Like look at the massage. I mean, the massage totally calmed him down.
yeah.
He had like a little pedicure, little manscaping action. Like he come back.
Well, tell people,
more.
we have the podcast has grown a lot since Survivor South Pacific, and maybe some of our listeners don't know what your products, Bare Ease and Numbnuts, do.
Oh yes, Numbnuts is a cream that numbs the skin before grooming. So for men, it's a Manscapers numbing cream, if you will. And so I made it a blue color just so it would be fun. And I think if Brandon just wants to have some manscaping, just have like a facial, he would be like a brand new man,
Yeah.
a gentleman. Yeah, I think that would work for him. So yeah, the answer is yes. I do think Brandon needs some numb nuts and a day at the spa because he clearly liked that massage.
Yeah. Now, Edna, I have a friend who wanted to ask you this question.
Who's your friend?
You don't know him.
I don't know him?
You don't
Okay.
know him. My friend wanted to know if you took Bear Ease or Numb Nuts and put it on your hand, and then
I haven't heard this question
and
before.
then put a glove on, would it feel like if you touched?
Would it be this like the stranger?
If you touched your face, for instance, would it feel like somebody else was touching your face?
Are we kind of extrapolating this to like other parts of the human anatomy?
No, just answer the question, Edna.
Okay. You will.
I work the night shift, Edna.
I did work all day. I had a very stressful case today. Your hand should feel numb, but your face should feel normal.
Yes. Okay.
So it would be like the stranger.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you. We all got it. We got it. Brian Scally wants to know, did you think it was ironic that Eric Reichenbach was the one that physically gave away the immunity idol to the other team? Did you think that was ironic that
I hadn't even caught that. That is really ironic. Yes, poor guy.
No,
and it was because of Brandon. He had to give it away.
Poor guy. That was pretty ironic.
Yes. Let's see. Carl Hedlund wants to know, did you feel cheated that you shared a beach with the more rational coach 3.0? Did you ever wish that you had been with the less rational coach 1.0 or 2.0?
I do kind of wonder what it would be like. But, at the same time, I just take every opportunity. I really like Coach. I believe all his stories about the indigenous people. Call me crazy or gullible, but I wonder what it would have been like if I had met him 1.0.
Okay. What do you think, Nicole?
I think it would have been interesting.
Sure. Okay. All right. Matt Curran wants to know, Edna, how many times did Brandon pee in your rice, if you had to guess?
I'm a rice connoisseur, being Chinese and all, and we also did not have coconuts in our. We only had coconuts that were off the land. It wasn't. We didn't have rice in our season, so he, as far as I can tell, realistically, he never peed in our food.
What do you think would be worse, if he peed in the rice or if he instead?
Dropped a deuce?
No, stop it.
That's where you were going.
No, if he threw it on the ground. The two things that he threatened to do.
Peeing or throwing on the ground.
Yeah, what would be worse?
I would have eaten either, to be honest with you, because you know that
Edna, you would eat the rice after Brandon
You would
peed
eat
in
yellow
it?
rice?
Yeah, I'd probably just go wash it off.
But doesn't it absorb any of that?
It's sterile.
You're in a sterile.
But still.
It's still a bodily fluid.
But still.
And it's still Brandon's.
I would probably prefer, if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the rice on the ground with the rest.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I would take the rice on the ground also. And, thank God Boston Rob isn't there because he likes his rice crispy, not soggy.
Yes.
Hey, Brandon, don't even think about it.
I think that if Boston Rob was there, this wouldn't have happened.
Yes. I think Boston Rob could have been a calming presence for Brandon.
I think so too.
And then he would have just voted him out.
And then, yes.
And he would have not seen it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Need to know basis.
Yes. Okay, one last question for Edna and Nicole. You could jump in here too.
Okay.
Ding, marry, kill. Brandon, Phillip, and Shamar.
Ooh, that's a tough one. That is a really tough one.
It's a tough one.
Who would I want to align with?
No, ding, marry, kill. Do you know how to play this game, Edna?
Oh no, I don't know how to play this game.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yes, I know you're a married woman, but if you can give everybody a massage on Survivor, you can answer this question. All right, one of these people you have to ding, one of these people you get to marry, and one of these people you get to kill.
And ding, that means
Ding
Yes.
Have intercourse.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I just have to make sure that I'm. Hey, Ding, Mary, or Till. Okay, got it. Okay.
Brandon, Phillip,
God.
and Shamar.
Ugh.
This is the worst game ever.
I would have to kill myself.
Yeah. And, in hindsight, Nicole, I would actually prefer not knowing what you would pick in this one.
You think less of me?
Yes. All right. Brandon, Phillip, Shamar. Go, Edna.
This is the worst game ever.
Edna, I'm sorry. You just said you would eat the rice that Brandon peed in. You can.
I would rather eat the rice than do that. That sounds horrible. Let's see. This is a very violent game. Can I choose a different game?
Shamar was.
We've had enough violence.
Yeah, Shamar was very gregarious in my exit interview with him. Phillip is a lot of fun. Everybody knows that. Brandon has a sweet side to him. Look at the
I don't think so.
upside.
I don't think so. I don't think Brandon. Philip, I think he would be a gentleman. Like, he's always been very sweet and gentlemanly. I can see him being very protective. And I tend to go for older guys. I don't know how old Shamar is.
We know Phillip is 54.
I could see Phillip, like, while you're doing the deed, he's like telling you how good he is.
All right.
That's true. Yeah. That's pretty funny, actually.
He can give nicknames to all your parts.
See, that could be like really cute and charming at the beginning. Then after a while, I'd be like, ugh, stop talking.
I said maybe that's a ding.
I think that's grounds for a kill.
Well, okay, maybe. See, like, Brandon is just carries so much emotional negativity. That would have to be a kill, right? What's left?
Hey, you said it, Edna, not me, not us.
You're very brave.
Yeah, you're brave. So then you would.
I have drugs, I have stuff that put people unconscious.
Yes,
she's
got the good stuff.
Humane way.
She's got the good stuff.
And then you would marry Shamar.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Shamar. Oh my God. Maybe I'd rather marry Phillip. At least it'd be entertaining.
All right, so you marry Phillip and ding Shamar. If you walked on Shamar's back, would he even feel it?
Probably not.
Probably not.
All right.
Get very bored.
Yeah. All right, Edna. Well, Edna, thank you for coming on. I'm glad that you we were able to finally get you on, and of course we had not to bring the mood down, but we had that was the week that you got voted off that we had to go back had a death in the family.
Yeah, he had a family emergency.
Yeah, that week, so we couldn't do Edna's exit interview. But I'm glad we were able to
make
this right and complete our conversations with everybody from Survivor South Pacific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. The way Brandon's talking about coming back, there may be another time we could hang out and talk together.
Oh, maybe. All right, and if anybody wants to get their hands or any part of their body on some Bear Ease or Numb Nuts, where do they go?
Just go to my website, Bear Ease, and then if you want to send me a Twitter message, direct message, or tweet at me, I can figure something creative out for you all.
Yes, I have used your Bear Ease, and I have to say it's phenomenal.
Yes.
Thank you. You're very sweet. Thank you.
No, you're very sweet for making it. Thank you, because I hate getting waxed.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
It's awful.
I'll thank you too, Edna.
No problem.
Yeah.
It's so much better. Are you serious? Than shaving or anything else?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Drop and thank me later.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm thanking you already.
Thank you.
Yeah. Edna, all right, take care, Edna.
Bye, Edna.
Thank you so much, Rod. Thank you so much, Nicole. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, bye. All right, Nicole, there you have it. That was Edna Ma.
That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
Yes.
Yes. That Edna was very good.
It was kind of like the episode. It was a roller coaster. We had our ups and then we had our downs and we went back up.
Well, I wasn't expecting some of those things that Edna said.
Yes. She's a tricky lady.
Who knew? Who knew? All right. So, Nicole, we're going to get into your voicemails and your comments from you guys because you guys had a lot to say. I got more voicemails about this episode than any other episode since we've been doing the voicemail segment for the last, half of last season and this season so far. So lots of voicemails came in.
Were any of them from the Hantz family?
No voicemails from the Hantzes themselves, but the season is young. But before I get to the voicemail, I just want to say, the first week of March, we were collecting money for the Reality Rally for Michelle's Place, which is a charity that donates money to women dealing with breast cancer, and
great charity.
Also helps with screening of breast cancer for a lot of women. So what we did was we said we're going to take 100% of the revenue that comes in from referrals from when you guys use our links for Amazon.com. So the first week of March came and went, and through your purchases, we have just donated a grand total of $312.86.
That's pretty fantastic because it's a small percentage that we get through Amazon. So that's a lot of purchases that were made.
Good job to you guys.
Yeah.
So $312.86 goes to Michelle's Place, courtesy of the listeners of Rob as a Podcast.
Job well done.
Job well done. Congratulations. Yeah, so we're trying to, what we're trying to do all together is raise $1,000 for the Team Interninos, which is Jessica Frey is the captain of the Team Interninos. And so it's going to be Jessica Frey and Costa, Rob's fact checker, are going to be on the team. And I'm not sure.
Great.
I'm not 100% sure who the third member of the team is. I'm not sure if it's Eric Nelson again or if they found another.
Or they gave him the boot.
I'm not sure. But
you better get it right.
If we raise $1,000 and on their page, we get to pick our reality star to run the race. Well, that's the big question. So we want to get somebody good.
They learned their lesson from picking you.
Yeah, they picked me last time, and they came in last.
Yes.
Out of like 50 teams. Okay, so if you want to help raise some more money for Team Internino, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/realityrally. That'll go right to the page.
That's fantastic.
All right, so let's get into some of your voicemails. Of course, you can leave us a voicemail at any time. One of two ways. Go to robhasawebsite.com/voicemail. You could do that from any computer or smartphone or iPad. Use the microphone that's right in there. Leave us a voicemail. Or you can call us on the phone. Dial 323-282-RHAP. So, Nicole, are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's see what the voicemail inbox has in store for us this week. And let's start with Christian, who has a question about a scenario that could have gone down last night.
Hey, Rob, this is Christian. I was just wondering, do you think that if Brandon would have asked Post to let him join the fans' tribe, would he have let him, and then they would have just played the immunity? Thanks, Rob. I'll see you later. My boogie, baby!
What?
I don't even know what that was. I don't even know. All right, so if Brandon Hantz wanted to, and I thought this was what was going to happen.
I thought so too. That's what it sounded like.
We touched on this a little bit last night on the Know-It-Alls. If Brandon said, you know what, Jeff? I'm sick of these guys. I don't want to play with them anymore. I'm out. I want to be on the fans.
I want to go to the loser tribe.
I want to go be with the losers. I'm going to be their hero. I'm going to be their champion.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think that would have flown? What do you think?
I don't think that they really had a choice. I think they had to make him go if.
Okay, let's change the circumstance a little bit. Let's say it wasn't that circumstance. Let's say this was like an episode earlier.
Uh-huh.
Brandon's like, I see the writing on the wall. They go to the challenge like, Jeff, can I speak up? Can I say something? I would like to go and be on the other team. Pre-dumping out the rice, pre-fighting with Phillip. What do you think? Do you think that Jeff would have let that go?
I think that if he did, that sets up future seasons to be like, man, I'm going to get voted out. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the other tribe so I don't get voted out.
See, and do you think Jeff would let it happen?
I think in some circumstances he would.
See, I kind of think if this was Survivor 6, I think that Jeff would be like, no way. And I don't think so.
WTF.
Yeah, what do you think's going on here? Get back over there. I'm calling the shots here. But in Survivor 26, I do get the feeling from the show, just like last season where we had that wicker ball thing and Scoopin and Penner were out there, and Penner was like, I think we should try to negotiate a little bit, and they're doing the whole thing of like, what if I gave you the thing and you guys got my rice? And Now, I feel like 10 years ago, Jeff is like, no, we're playing this out.
Crankier Jeff.
But I kind of feel like there's that, at this point in the show, that they're sort of like, okay, this might be interesting. Let's see what happens if we do this.
Yeah.
And so I think that at this point in the show, they're in much more of a, let's throw some spaghetti at the wall. Let's see what happens.
See if it sticks.
And we've never had this before. I think they like when we have something that comes up that's never happened before. Nobody's ever said out of nowhere, hey, I'd like to be on the other team. And I'm sure the other people would say, hey, oh, we'd love to have you.
But I think that really it sets up for future seasons to be like, oh, you know what? I'm on the chopping block. I'm probably going to go home next. I'm going to switch to the other tribe.
Well, I think if any of our we have any listeners that are going to be on Survivor 27, because people do listen to the show, they apply for the thing.
Yes.
I think that might be an interesting thing to try, especially don't just quit. Don't burn the camp down if you think you're going home
Don't
next.
pee in the rice.
Try this at the challenge. Say, Jeff, I'd like to say something. I would like to join the other tribe.
I hate these effers. I want to go with these guys.
Yeah, I hate my tribe. I want to join the other tribe.
These guys are douches.
Yeah. Might be interesting.
Yeah, no, totally interesting.
Yeah. I think that there's a better than 0% chance Jeff lets it fly. I'd say it's about 50-50.
I think it's probably like 75-25.
75 in which way?
In favor of letting him do that.
Yeah, it looked like he would have let it go last night.
Well,
we'll see.
I don't think that he had a choice. I think he had to make Brandon go.
All right, this is a question from a person named Russell about Hantz's.
Oh.
But it's a listener named Russell Lindbergh. All right, Russell, take it away.
Hey, Rob. It's Russell Lindbergh, and I have a question. Which Hantz exit was more, I don't know, I would say more of a letdown? Would it be Willie Hantz from Big Brother or Brandon Hantz from last night? Just something to keep in mind. Willie's headbutt wasn't too exciting, and Brandon just kind of dumps him right out. So let me know what you think. Thanks.
Now, did you think that Brandon Hantz's departure was lackluster? I mean, I thought the show kind of delivered for the most part.
I feel like it started to trick us. And you can see it on Twitter. People were getting disappointed. Like, really, this is what they were hyping it up. And then the grand finale came.
Yeah.
I think that Brandon's exit was definitely much more entertaining than Willie's.
Yeah, I think that Brandon had a better exit from the game from a pure television perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
Brandon had the Willie Hantz exit from television was not very compelling television at all. It was not. Not a super memorable moment. It was super memorable in real life as it was happening on the feeds that day.
Right.
It was a Friday afternoon. I remember it very
vividly.
And it was like, and people were going on Twitter, Willie's going nuts. And because Willie Hantz had the difference between, I think, Willie Hantz, and for those, I know we have a lot of people that listen who, just for Survivor, don't listen to the Big Brother. What happened was, in Big Brother 13 or Big Brother 14, Willie Hantz was one of the players in the game. Willie Hantz denied that he was Russell's brother, but Willie Hantz actually had a lot of control early on in the game. He was the first head of household. He was playing the most aggressive game. He was really
early on.
He was really running things. He went after one of the other guys in the house hard. This guy Frank, who actually managed to stay in the house and then win the HOH. And then it was obvious he was going to put Willie up on the block. And it was obvious that it looked at that point, Willie was going to go home. Would be the likely person to go home. But in Big Brother, there's so much time. They didn't play the veto. There was so many
things could happen.
a million things could have changed. But, that Willie, kind of like Brandon, felt like, okay, well, hey, I'm going out on my terms. And, and Willie, was he trying to get kicked out of that's still a little unclear. But he ended up sort of just like he
got removed from the game.
Yeah, he did. I mean, was doing like the Big Brother house equivalent of dumping out all the rice. He was like throwing pork rinds at people's faces and sort of like and then there was a confrontation and he allegedly headbutted somebody, but it was a very minor thing when you saw the video of it.
Yeah.
But I think that Willie Hantz, I was more disappointed to see Willie Hantz go out from the game because I thought Willie Hantz was more of a player than Brandon Hantz was. I thought Brandon Hantz had the better television exit.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. All right. Another question about the Hantzes. This one is from Andy.
Hey Rob, Andy here. After the meltdown that happened with Willie Hantz, and now Brandon Hantz, do you think there will be another Hantz on a CBS reality show? And don't bring Brandon's kids into this.
All right.
Thanks for the great podcasts.
All
Bye.
right. Don't bring Brandon's kids into this. Okay. Will we ever see, Nicole, another hint? I guess not counting Russell, Willie, or Brandon.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that we will see another Hantz on one of the big three CBS reality shows, Amazing Race, Survivor, Big Brother?
I think Sean Hantz is going to be thrown.
Sean
He's
Hantz?
going to be thrown into the mix.
Let me throw another. What about Seth Hantz?
Which one is Seth?
You don't know him yet.
Okay.
You don't know him yet.
I don't think that this is.
He's big on Twitter.
Is he big on Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check him
How
out.
about that? Yeah. I think it might be a totally different Hantz. I think it'd be good. All right. Here's a voicemail that is from Rory, and he has some things that he wants to say about Rob Has a Podcast. So let me give Rory the floor.
Okay.
Hi, Rob. This is Rory, a longtime fan and subscriber. I apologize. This won't be short nor fun, but I think it's important to say. After listening to your Know It Alls podcast, it was actually the first time I've been disappointed in one of your shows. It was really hard for me not to cringe when you and Steven were talking about Brandon's obvious mental instability and laughing. Now, I'm not particularly sensitive to these issues, but I do think in light of recent events and the topic of mental health and how it's cared for in this country being in the news, a little empathy would have been the better way to go. I think Steven's People blog does a good job of criticizing CBS, and rightfully so, for casting Brandon. And I think you both used the word sad to describe Brandon's meltdown during the podcast. I just wish the conversation had come off as less as if you were poking fun of Brandon's mental illness and more on CBS owning up to making a mistake putting Brandon in a situation like that in the first place. I think it was a danger to himself and to his tribemates. From what I understand, part of the casting process requires a mental health exam, or I would just assume that. I just really wonder now how strict it really is. I think CBS owes it to us as viewers to let us know how they, evaluate somebody's mental health before they go on the island. I apologize for length of voicemail, but I appreciate you listening and keep up the great work. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm not afraid to take some criticism and play it for you guys. And I think Rory has a lot of good points.
That's very good points.
A lot of backlash towards the show. This is like the first, I don't even, backlash is the wrong word to use towards me, but I guess I also fall into coming under a little criticism about all of this week. And for me, I really don't know how to deal with this. I mean, Steven in his blog today, he did call about the sad breakdown of Brandon Hantz. A lot of these Survivor writers have touched on this, and was it irresponsible for CBS to put Brandon Hantz back on the show? I mean, Dalton Ross interviewed Jeff Probst, and Jeff Probst said, we tested him. He passed the test. We didn't think this was going to happen. A lot of us who, knew or a lot of people suspected this could happen. I think there's also like a little bit of maybe some revisionist history in that, there's been a lot of rumors for quite some time about, okay, well, Brandon is going to have a breakdown this season. It was sort of, I don't look for spoilers, but I feel like everybody pretty much knew. But did we know in May or June of 2012 that this was going to happen? I'm not sure. So I don't know. As far as we go, I mean, we have been making light of a situation that probably should be taken more seriously, but
at the same time, you can't call somebody out for having a mental illness. Like, you can't,
right.
Like, you can't just say, you know what, this guy is bipolar and this is really, like, you can't say things like that.
Yeah. Now that's the thing. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I'm a guy with a podcast.
Right. We don't have those kind of credentials.
That talks about Survivor. So I can only talk about what I've seen on Survivor. I spoke to Brandon this morning, and while he did seem a bit aggressive at start, I had asked him, are you getting any treatment? And he says, no, I'm not getting any treatment. So if Brandon was to come out and say, "Hey, man, I actually am bipolar. I actually have I have a disease,
Right.
and there's something, or not a disease. I have a condition, but I'm getting treatment for it, and that's one thing. But if he hasn't even been diagnosed with something,
Yeah, it's not really for us to say, but at the same time, in knowing people that do have mental illness, I think that it is. I think that CBS really did drop the ball on that, because mental illness is not something to play around with. But if he passed the test, they're saying that he passed the test. What are you going to do? You going to argue with them?
Yeah. So I really don't know what the right way to go about this. Now, a lot of people have also had some backlash about, is the show benefiting from having somebody who knowingly is at the very least, volatile.
Yeah.
Reality Blurred today posted an article, R.I.P. Survivor, murdered at 26 by Jeff Probst. I think now Andy Denhart does a great job. We're gonna talk to him in the next couple of weeks. I had been emailing him before this about, this is the reality TV perfect storm right now with all these shows going on. So he very much is saying that he blames Jeff Probst as the producer in charge of the show for bringing Brandon Hantz back. And saying that it's Jeff's fault. He cites Gordon Holmes in his interview with Brandon, says everybody knew Brandon was a powder keg. He was about to go off. I don't know. I didn't talk to him ahead of time. I'm sure that they were excited to get that sort of conflict, but
at the same time, that's kind of like an exploitation on mental illness.
Yes. Well, that's where I think a lot of the criticism has come for Survivor. How much are they exploiting somebody who is admittedly somebody who's not admittedly unstable, and somebody who's does not admittedly need help, but somebody who has these tendencies. So I don't know. I think the show got lucky.
Yeah.
That they put this person out there. He had this episode, and nobody got hurt.
Yeah.
And I know that the people that were out there with him, they were scared for their lives, that they were hiding the machete because they were afraid that what is he going to do? Is he going to attack somebody?
That is a very sad situation for people to be in, and you really shouldn't put people in those situations knowingly, that this person can be like that.
And so I just feel like, everybody got lucky. We can all take a deep breath. Hopefully this is a moment where we say, okay, you know what? Maybe we can't have somebody this volatile out there because this could have been the end of the show. Because I'm telling you, one person, Brandon Hantz, break somebody's arm or whatever. I think that's a big problem for the show.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it in his eyes when he was going off. Like, it wasn't just anger. Like, there was something that clicked in there.
Because you know what? This isn't the Hunger Games at the end of the day. And if people, in all seriousness, I don't think that's what people want to watch. And I don't know if that's what people. I got a lot of emails from people today saying like, "Hey, this isn't the show that I love."
No, it's really. And I'm speaking from a place where I know people who suffer from this illness, and if that was these people that I know that I was watching, that would be more than disturbing to watch.
Mm-hmm. So it also has to be safe for the other people to go back and play this game. Like, I would be scared to go back and play Survivor with somebody who I thought was going to, if I vote this person out, what are they going to do to me? Are they going to hurt me? And am I protected? So we have to have this, safe environment, I feel like, for the other players. And, admittedly, look, I do a podcast.
It's a comedy.
I make jokes. I keep it light. I don't know if that's why people would tune into this podcast if we did, 2 hours talking about the state of, mental health on reality television. It's a serious issue. We are making light of the show, not of the issue.
Right.
And I thought Rory has a lot of really great points about all of this.
Yeah, and we certainly hope that Brandon gets whatever help that he needs to get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
whether he admits it or not,
and talks to somebody who's qualified to make that call. That's not me or you.
But yes.
So we will see. What ultimately comes.
The only
this.
meds I can give him is NyQuil.
And we'll see if the show looks at this as oh boy, this was a great moment. How do we recapture this?
I hope
or,
not.
Boy, we dodged a bullet. Somebody could have seriously got hurt. How do we fix this?
I hope not. I hope that I hope they learn from this.
So we'll see. We have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea where it'll go. Okay, this is a question from Jimmy, and he has a question about Kickstarter.
Hey Rob, what's going on? This is Jimmy. I'm not sure if you saw this week, but there was a thing with the Veronica Mars where they raised $2 million for the fans of the show to make a Veronica Mars movie. And I was wondering, based on the success of your Reality Game Masters Kickstarter, I wonder if you would ever consider doing the same thing for Survivor if Survivor was to ever be canceled. All right, thanks a lot. Fishy, fishy.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. So what Jimmy is referring to this week, I don't know if you saw this, Nicole. So
I did.
That a lot of people have, been talking about Kickstarter with us because of our Reality Game Masters, the first original Rob Has a Podcast web series, which we've been collecting funding to produce. So we're going to produce later this spring. So Veronica Mars, a big cult hit with Kristen Bell.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Have you ever seen an episode of Veronica Mars?
I have not seen an episode. I did watch Kristen Bell take a long hike with Jeff Probst on the Jeff Probst show. They went up the canyon.
Oh, how romantic.
It was very romantic. So a lot of people love Veronica Mars, my good friend Ryan Popola included.
Yes, a fanatic. And so they were looking to raise $2 million to make a Veronica Mars movie. So they've obviously listened to this podcast.
They ripped us off. Yes.
Those bastards.
And so what they did was they raised I think $2 million in like a day.
And it was 11 hours.
11 hours.
11 hours.
Oh, you know your stuff, Nicole.
I do.
So what Jimmy wants to know is if Survivor was to ever have an untimely end or go off the air, would I be willing to set up a Kickstarter to fund our own Survivor? And I will tell you, Jimmy, that the answer is yes.
Ooh la la.
Not on my watch will we go live in a world without Survivor. I will do whatever I can to keep the torch of Survivor lit.
I think you would have to change a few things. I think that there are trademark issues and,
Well, we would have to sit down and have a conversation with Mark Burnett, and he might say, "Rob, go F yourself. It's dead."
But Mark Burnett loves money.
Yes. We're working on New Testament 4. So we'll see. But if that's we would certainly explore it.
Would this be an internet thing or would it actually be a network?
Well, I think we'd have to explore.
I have a lot of questions about this.
Yeah, we'd have to explore everything, but I think that we could. I'm sure we could get a lot of some sort of an all-star.
Can I be a contestant?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't think so.
Oh,
yeah,
you suck.
It's like it's FUBU. It's for us, by us. Survivor FUBU.
Very similar.
Yeah, very similar. All right, and one last question. This is from Matt Noble.
G'day, Rob and Nicole.
Ooh.
It's Matt Noble here with
Accent.
a question. If on Reality Game Masters, one of the contestants, let's say Fishback, went into a complete meltdown where they were knocking over chairs, getting aggressive towards other players, and possibly even getting rid of all the dice, would you give Steve a shoulder massage to help calm him down, and how else might you deal with it?
Okay, so if Steven Fishback has a meltdown during a Reality Game Masters, what will I do to restrain him?
Well, I don't know if a massage would be the right thing for Steven. Courtney is a professional masseuse. I mean, how do you compete with that?
I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if a massage might be in order. Knowing Steven, I know
I
that
feel like you'd have to give him like math equations to calm him down.
maybe some math, maybe talk to him about get him to start showing him some things that people wrote on Twitter that he could flame people on Twitter perhaps.
Yes.
That might be good. I think that I might just have a, like I do with Reyes, you have it like a spray bottle, and if people are just getting out of hand,
So you would just spray Steven in the face?
oh, it doesn't have to be Steven, it could be anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It could be anybody. Or I think we might have like some snacks.
Ooh.
That's the thing. People get hungry, they get cranky, get some snacks, and it might feel better.
Give him a Snickers.
Yeah. You're feeling a little cranky today. You look like Joe Pesci right now, Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's all better.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at some of what these survivors are saying on social media. Okay, what do you say then, Nicole?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We love to check in with what everybody is saying. This comes to us from the hard work of the interns of Rob as a Podcast and our head of intern, Allie Lasher. Great job this week. So let's start off with Malcolm. Who at Malcolm WHW, big stir was going on Twitter this week. A lot of people were upset. Malcolm was getting a haircut.
Oh.
And he tweeted a picture from the barber chair.
I saw this picture.
And a lot of people were upset that they thought maybe Malcolm was pulling a Rob Cesternino and shaving his head.
Never do that.
No, he just got the normal haircut, the Rachel.
Yes.
Yes.
I was on Twitter and I saw that tweet and I clicked on his Twitter page and I was going to follow him and then I saw a tweet that I didn't like.
What'd he say?
He said, "One wipe poop. Today's going to be a good day."
All right.
So I did not follow him.
Yeah. So here we go. This is from Malcolm on Twitter. He tweeted during the episode, "If there ever was a time for CBS to resurrect the hashtag Survivor Breakdown, it's tonight."
Yeah.
I believe that was last season.
Did they have it?
Lisa Welchel was the original Survivor Breakdown.
I think they did it for Dawn also.
Did they?
I think they
I
did.
don't know if they did individual hashtags back on Survivor South Pacific. I think that's more of a
No, I think they did it this season for Dawn.
Is that what it was?
I think so.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
So they didn't do that last night?
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't know what they
That would have
hashtagged.
been bad.
Yeah. Eric Reichenbach had a tweet. He says, much appreciation for the at Jeff Probst crazy Hantz shoulder massage. Nothing calms down a raging Hantz like a shoulder massage. Okay. And Eric was there. He would know.
Yeah.
He would know. Okay.
Don't be jelly, Eric.
Don't be jelly. All right. So this is from Cochran at John M. Cochran on Twitter. He had a couple of tweets. He was very upset. He said, "I'm deeply disappointed that the title of tonight's Survivor episode isn't Spilling the Beans."
Oh,
that was good.
Yeah.
Well, then double meaning, too.
Yeah.
Between we had what happened with Brandon actually
spilling the beans physically.
And then Andrea a little bit.
I don't think
she we didn't talk about that.
She didn't completely spill the beans.
She didn't completely spill the beans, but she spilled the beans enough to start a real bean fire.
I think the beans were already noticeably spilled.
Yeah, Andrea needed to cut bait with Brandon.
Oh, but I think Andrea felt bad for him because she did have a relationship with him.
We'll see what the fallout.
Who knew that this was going to happen?
Yeah, but we'll see what the fallout is going to be next week. We talked about this with Steven, was if this was Boston Rob and she went and told somebody else the plan, she would be the next one out. We'll see if Philip is more forgiving.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that we didn't talk about this, but I think that Philip, how he tries to have the BR rules and tries to be like Boston Rob. I think that we said before that if Boston Rob was there, this never would have happened. So Philip not really following the Boston Rob rules.
Yeah. Boston Rob probably would not have let the Brandon Hantz situation boil over.
He would have taken Brandon Hantz and bear hugged him and given him the little talking that he needed. And then voted him out.
Yeah. All right. So Cochran, Cochran was upset all around last night. He tweeted to at Reynold Topfer, "You're already good at throwing things and look like a Disney prince. You don't need to take all my confessionals too, unhappy face." Cochran's upset.
Cochran, I think that, last season he was on, he was the star of the show. He got all the confessionals. His head may have gotten a little big.
Yes.
And now he's not really getting the airtime. And now it's...
He's upset. He's upset. Brandon took all the airtime.
Okay, well now Brandon's gone.
For one night, he was Purple Cochrane.
Oh,
That's sad.
it's very sad.
All right, but it's a long season.
It's a long season.
Yeah.
It's early.
Seems like he's has some stability in the game.
And luckily, I don't think Reynolds going to be around that much longer.
Yeah. So we'll see. How about this? This was from during the week. Angie on our Facebook fan page, she wrote to know, please
Angie Survivor Angie?
No.
Cookies?
She doesn't know how to type. Angie says,
she types with her boobs.
please tell me how the now unemployed Elizabeth Hasselbeck from The View will replace Nicole as co-host of Rob Has a Podcast. Now, hold on here a second.
What?
So, big news this week that we thought that former Survivor player Elizabeth Hasselbeck was fired from The View, or her contract was not renewed because she was too polarizing. And a lot of people were up in arms. A lot of people were celebrating. I tweeted to Elizabeth Hasselbeck on Twitter that I'm sorry to hear your contract is not renewed, but we do have a co-hosting position available for you on Rob Has a Podcast.
You bastard.
Now, a lot of people felt like I was replacing you. My idea was to make Rob Has a Podcast more like The View, and we could also bring in Whoopi.
I just think that...
We could also bring in Whoopi also, because she knows a lot about Survivor.
Oh.
And it would be me, you, Whoopi, and Elizabeth Hasselbeck.
That sounds like a party.
Yeah, that would be good.
I was watching The View this week, and they were addressing the rumors of Elizabeth getting fired. And Barbara Walters was the one who was speaking about it, and Elizabeth was sitting next to her. And Barbara was saying how they didn't fire Elizabeth. Elizabeth is just going to be pursuing other things. It's not a firing. But the entire time, Elizabeth didn't say a word. And when in the history of The View did Elizabeth not say a word?
So is she staying on the show, or she's not staying on the show?
She's leaving, but but she's going to pursue other things.
I thought she wasn't going anywhere.
No, I think she's leaving.
Okay, we'll have to see. Paging Rob's fact checker to the end of the podcast, please.
In fairness, when I was watching The View, it was funny that they, right when they were about to address the Elizabeth departure, they cut to an emergency breaking news. There was an earthquake. It was like a 3.5.
Yeah. So what do you think? Was it an omen?
I'm not going to say it was an omen, but it got interrupted.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some headlines. Conan reacts to Elizabeth Hasselbeck not leaving The View.
Oh, she's not leaving.
Elizabeth Hasselbeck leaving The View. Not so fast, says Walters.
Oh, okay.
So we know that you only half watched TV.
I guess that was breaking news. There was an earthquake.
Okay. Yes.
But the interesting thing is that she wasn't allowed to talk.
Okay. Fair.
She wasn't allowed to talk about it.
All right. Well, maybe with this smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Jeff, we have an inappropriate comment of the week from Jeff Probst, but it's not a great one.
Okay.
You ready? All right, so here we go. From the reward challenge, Jeff says, Cochrane puts one in. What do you think? Is that you good?
That was a good one.
Okay, Nicole liked it.
I liked it.
0 or a 1?
That was a 1.
There you have it. All right, and the next head of interns, look who it is, the all-star of head of interns. Jessica Frey is back, head of interns next week.
She is a busy bee.
Very busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And doing pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
All right, Nicole. So, I feel like there was something we didn't talk about.
I'm sure there was a lot we didn't talk about.
I'm sure there's a lot we didn't talk about. I'll remember it after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you getting nostalgic of the good old days when I used to be on the show all the time?
It was nice to have you here the whole time. I'll say that.
But you're not getting nostalgic.
I mean, it's good to have you here. Mm-hmm. I get lonely in here all the time, podcasting by myself.
No, you don't.
A little bit.
No, you don't.
A little bit.
You thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, I do enjoy the podcasting, but yes. I would say when we when we do it and it's
and I'm into it
and you're into it, then there's nothing better.
Yes.
And when we do it and you're not as into it,
and
then
I'm just lying there.
Yeah, it's not as fun. But it's still pretty fun. Okay? And we're talking about the podcasting.
Yes,
everybody.
Absolutely.
Please. All right.
Get your heads out of the gutter.
Yeah. All right. So we've got a lot of stuff coming your way. Thursday is just a crazy night. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast. Then I'm going to start watching Big Brother Canada and write my blog for the Huffington Post Canada.
Oh my God.
Of Big Brother Canada.
I'm going to bed. I have a big show tomorrow.
Yes. All right. What are you doing?
I have on thatprettyfitchick.com. We're in the middle of a fitness challenge, our 31-day March Madness challenge. And every Friday we have a live show where we do a workout together. And tomorrow is a killer power yoga class that I'm going to be teaching live at 4 p.m.
All right.
Yeah, so you check that out on thatprettyfitchick.com.
Okay, and 4 p.m. Pacific.
4 p.m. Pacific. I'm sorry, I feel like everybody lives in Los Angeles.
But they don't.
7
p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Saturday, we will be doing another Big Brother Canada update show. Sunday night, we got another episode of the Amazing Race podcast. And then we're going to talk about the Celebrity Apprentice again on Monday night. So if you want to catch the individual show feeds, if you're not interested in everything, you just want to get any of the individual shows.
But you should be.
Yeah, why not? Mm-hmm. You can get those shows at robhasawebsite.com/show feeds. And we always appreciate it when you use or when you go on iTunes and give us 5 stars and leave us some comments. By the way, we had a first on Rob as a Podcast last week. Survivor Know-It-Alls from last week was the #1 show on iTunes in the TV and film category.
Wowzer, that's amazing.
We've been in the top 10 a bunch.
But never #1.
But we were never #1. That was the first time ever that we got one of our podcasts was the #1 podcast in a category.
That's fantastic.
The episode was the #1 episode in the category.
Wow, that's great.
And there's a lot of really great podcasts that are out there for all sorts of TV shows and movies, and so thank you guys for helping us reach that milestone. I mean, it really blows my mind sometimes when I think back to when Nicole and I were
recording a conversation.
When we first started the show up, to think that we would eventually get to the #1 show on iTunes on a given day,
and have this new fancy studio.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so lots of stuff coming up. Thank you guys so much. Thanks to everybody who's using our links for Amazon.com at robasawebsite.com/Amazon. Always appreciated. And just keep following us on Twitter at Rob Cesternino, at Nicole Loves Shoes for anything else that comes up or when news breaks. We'll at least make a joke about it.
We'll laugh at you.
No, we will laugh with you.
And sometimes at you.
Yeah, we will not laugh at you.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Follow us on Twitter. We'll laugh at you. Go for it. We'll just make fun of you.
We'll make fun of everything that you say.
Yeah, we're like Don Rickles. It's an honor for us to laugh at you on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
See if they can, find out what's going on in his head. Because look at his 2 games. His first game was he was a Christian. The second game, it's like, he's an antichrist. You don't even know Christianity whatsoever. So everybody says you don't play the second game the same, and he surely did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is that a problem that his 2 influences are Jesus and you? Was that a problem?
And the devil.
Well, we don't want to say that.
No, he needs to. If he would have played that game like he played the first game, he would have went very far into the game. He probably should have played the same way.
People liked him,
but he was getting all kind of. This is what happened with Brandon. He come home, he's getting all kind of people telling him crazy. You're close to playing like Russell. You ain't close. So all he's trying to do is trying to go to par with me, and then so he thinks the extreme villain. That's how you do it. You don't have to do that to be a villain.
Yeah.
and I didn't know that I was going to be considered the biggest villain to ever play. I never knew that. That was my game. That was my strategic play.
Mm-hmm.
To do what I was doing. I would laugh about it while I was doing it. It was just fun. And then, all of a sudden, I come home and then it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
When I start seeing the commercials. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Brandon just we're not. If anybody thinks that we're even close the same when it comes to playing that game, or even in real life. I mean, I'm not going to say I wasn't close to him when I was 18. You got to realize he's just a child.
He's young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and the things that you did in the game, nobody knew you did them. And everybody thought, at least the first time you played, that you were a nice guy. And even the second time you played, that, everybody for a while, especially remember, JT thought you were such a nice guy. He's sending you a note, sending you a letter.
You guys were BFFs.
Giving you an immunity idol. Yeah.
Yeah, I get a love letter from a previous winner. That's pretty cool. And when I merged, he's like, man, I knew you were just like me. I knew you was a good old Southern boy. I'm thinking, yep, I'm a good old Southern boy to my alliance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not my alliance, dude. I mean, think about it. Like when I played, the thing that blows my mind about me not winning the first season is my job is to get rid of the other alliance. That's what I thought it was. And then that's what I did, and I still don't win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what does she want me to do? Bake her cakes and cookies? I mean, I'm supposed to try to get rid of her.
Let me ask you about Phillip. Now, you and Phillip, you guys were actually on the same season originally. There was some sniping back and forth, but after the game, I feel like Phillip was always very positive about you.
Mm-hmm.
And Phillip was somebody who said, I know we've interviewed him a couple times. He said, I would play with Russell Hantz. I would make an alliance with Russell Hantz. Does this change your relationship with Phillip?
It's nope, not at all. I mean, why? Phillip, we don't know the whole story what went out there, first of all, how drastic it really was. But I can guarantee you it had to be pretty bad for Jeff to be said, come over here, stand over here and physically hold him, because they thought Brandon was, they thought that was it.
Yeah.
Like they separated him right off the bat. Nobody knows that part, but he was separated from the group for a long time. And they wasn't even filming it. So that's how bad it was.
Oh, wow.
So Phillip, I don't see why you wouldn't align with Phillip. Look at his speech for the $1 million last time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it robbed the money.
So would you accept the position? What if they offered you a middle management position in Stealth R Us? Would you accept that position?
I would have to say I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my original name, and that's King Russell.
King Russell.
He can go ahead and be the specialist, working in my army.
Yeah,
I would play his little game with him.
Yeah, why not?
You have to play his little game. You have a little fun out there, and it's not like he's calling you bad names. It's just like, and the thing is, I think that he's getting way ahead of himself, to tell you the truth. I think that to be honest with you, I think he's trying too hard to be good TV. And, he's just naming everybody.
Yeah.
Like they're pets.
Yeah, it is a little much.
You probably took it too far.
It is a little much.
That's he's trying to get, he thinks that's going to get him further in the game, being a little crazy. I would play his game. I would do his thing. But the thing is, as far as I've ever seen, Phillip's pretty loyal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main thing out there. You find somebody that's loyal, no matter if they're crazy or not, you might as well run them to the end. You only got 39 days to put up with their craziness. And then if they're that crazy, hopefully you'll get the votes and they don't.
Right.
Russell, how about this guy Reynolds? Now he's finding idols left and right. Are you threatened when you see somebody who has the same idol hunting nose?
Thing is, I watched it again just now, and I was watching it. Everybody's looking for idols without clues. I wonder why they do that. It doesn't even matter if they find 5 without clues.
It's the Russell effect.
Yeah.
Right. It's the fact that they're looking. is how one part of how I changed the game.
Yeah.
And I've seen this little thing somebody sent me on Twitter. It said, "Oh, look, I found 2 idols. I can't believe it." And then it had a picture of me saying, what does it say? And it said, "Oh, look, 2 idols. How cute."
Yeah. No, but really between the whole the idol frenzy and your nephew's on the show, people are, if you weren't on the show, what would Survivor be like in 2013?
It'd be really boring.
I know. It'd probably be over.
It could be. Who knows?
I'm serious. I think by this time it would be. I don't think it would still be going. I think that I had that much of an impact on the game. I was told that by an executive with CBS. So, and then when they did tell me that, when she told me that, I was like, I really appreciate that, because I like to have some sort of credit through, some pretty honorable stuff, when you have a main executive come to me and say, "Hey, we could have never lasted another season without that big heroes versus villains,"
That was a good boom.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
Now, do you think at the end of the day, do you feel like maybe, Russell, were you too hard on Brandon the first time he played the game, and that he really wanted to go out of his way to impress you
He's
the
redeeming
the
himself for
second
you.
time?
Right. Well, when you think about it, that that seems like maybe the problem, because I was hard on him, and maybe he just couldn't take it. And he went out there and he was like, "I'm gonna show him this time. I'm gonna show my family that I can do it." Well, it's just what can I do? What can I say? I don't even know if if whatever I say or do can help him.
He just wants you to say that you like that
you're proud of him.
Yes, just tell you're proud. You're proud of him, Russell.
Sit him on your knee and tell him you're proud of him.
And then everybody gets to keep their rice from now on. Nobody gets yelled at.
I think we need to separate the rice.
In that game that's embedded in me, that game I love so much, I have to say he did a good job when he didn't. Or just say I'm proud of him as a person. would have he had to change a lot before he gets that from me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's.
Luckily, he's young and he has time.
And
that's what I say. He's just young. Maybe get a little help, here or whatever, and he'll be okay.
Yeah. And how about Willie through all this? Now, Willie left Big Brother under similar circumstances this summer. Do you see any similarities between what went on with Willie leaving Big Brother and Brandon leaving Survivor?
Yeah, it's just everybody that I helped get on the show that's Hantz, they just screw everything up.
But it makes you look so much better.
It does, don't it?
Yes.
You see, there's a strategic thing in everything.
We see what you're doing.
Yeah.
We see what you're doing, Russell.
All right. Oh, Russell, I know we just wanted to get you on here tonight and get your thoughts on everything. I know everybody's dying to hear from you today. Thank you for coming on. Was there anything else that you wanted to get off your chest tonight?
No, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, don't be a stranger, and thank you, Russell.
All right, man. No problem.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Bye, Russell.
All right, buddy.
So there you have it, Nicole. That was Russell Hantz. This whole thing could have been averted if Russell could just tell Brandon, "I'm proud of you." That's it's like this whole thing. It's like a Quantum Leap episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, we gotta have. Oh, it's like I can't do a.
All he needed was a little heart to heart.
It's like, yeah, okay. You're gonna quantum leap into Russell Hantz in 2011, and all you have to do is tell Brandon that you love him, and boop boop boop. Okay, there's a 97% chance this doesn't happen anymore.
Brandon could have won this season.
Yeah,
he could have won.
Yeah, he would have won last season. He could have been the greatest player of all time, maybe.
And if he played with God again, it really could have been a whole different game.
Yeah. All right. Well. All right, so so what do you want to do now? You want to anything else you want to talk about, or you want to see if we get Edna?
Let's get Edna on the line. I'm sure she's a lot to say.
All right, so let's go right into Edna and get her on the line. Okay. 2 phone calls in 1 podcast, Nicole.
Our phone bill is going to be crazy.
This is a double ender.
Mm-hmm. I know
Hello?
you like that.
Hello, is this Edna Ma?
Yes, it is. Who's this?
This is Rob and Nicole Sesternino.
Hi, Edna.
Hi, Nicole. Hi, Rob. How you doing?
We're doing great. How are
Good.
you doing, Edna?
I'm doing well. Thank
I
you
love
so
your
much.
energy. This is great.
Oh, it's exciting. I was anticipating your call.
Yes, very good. Well, Edna, this has been long overdue.
Yes.
Since Survivor South Pacific, we've been trying to get you on the show with us. This was we were afforded a great opportunity this
This is
week.
the perfect time to have you.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
we
Indeed.
look at in Rob has a podcast language. Crisis and opportunity are the same character.
I can see that.
Yes.
I can see that.
So we are in the midst of a Hantz crisis with everything going on with Brandon. We know that you are a certified Hantzologist.
Word on the street.
In addition to being the inventor of both Bear Ease and Numbnuts.
Yeah. If that's what I can be famous for, I think that would be enough.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So we're got a lot of stuff to talk to you about, but let's start with, let's not bury the lead, Edna. What was your thought as you were watching this all
Hantz-ageddon.
unfold last night?
Yes, really anticipating this particular episode because on the preview this last week, it would kind of gave us a little glimpse of what was happening. And it was just so typical Brandon, except this time with the physical manifestation of throwing out the rice and the beans, and he just goes crazy. And I think it's probably easier to measure the frequencies in which he has normal periods. It's probably fewer times, because he gets crazy all the time.
So you're saying
So
that,
this is common behavior.
yeah, there's like a half-life
Oh,
to
yeah.
it?
Oh yeah, he's in one of my previous my previous tweets I was with you as well. He really gets dark, and that's what I called it, his cloak of darkness during South Pacific. Whenever he starts thinking about his kids and his wife. At the time he played South Pacific, his wife was pregnant with his daughter, and then she, I think she was maybe about 6 months at that time, and his son was 18 months. And he felt terribly guilty at the time, leaving his family, and he just said, maybe I should just quit the game. And everything he said last time, last night he said the first time too. But I think Coach did a really good job of talking him off the ledge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now, how many days were you with Brandon in Survivor South Pacific?
32.
32.
And one day with Ozzy, so I was eliminated on day 33.
All right. Well, we won't ask you about the day with Ozzy.
We'll save that for another
Fair enough.
podcast.
We'll save that for another day. So,
Fair enough.
So in your 32 days with Brandon, how many times did this come up where he was thinking about leaving?
Pretty much every other day. Whenever there wasn't a challenge, that was pretty much when he wanted to leave.
So whenever he was bored.
Whenever he was bored, exactly.
Mhm.
And if he didn't have a task at hand, like cooking or trying to find an idol or getting ready for a challenge, he gets easily distracted. And so he gets in his head and he starts just getting this cloak of darkness, I call.
Oh, it's like idle hands, Brandon.
Idle hands.
Yeah, he really, yeah, it's just really, it's really scary too, because I think if he wasn't playing the game Survivor, he would really probably get very violent. And yes, the poor guy, I know he's had a troubled childhood, and he's still very young. He's maybe 21 or 20.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He was 19 when he played South Pacific. So I know that he's had he's suggested he's had a physically abusive and probably a very psychologically abusive childhood.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now,
Still doesn't explain the behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a medical professional, I'm sure this behavior is, concerning to you. I mean, you see, some signs.
I'm not a licensed psychologist or psychiatrist. I do think he is bipolar.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because he'll did the same thing he did last time. And he did what he did to Philip to me. He'll say some really mean stuff, and I do apologize about that. And he'll just do that every other day. He'll have an outburst, and then he'll apologize, and he'll have an outburst and apologize. And it's like, so you just kind of feel like you get pulled in, and you're like, okay, maybe how long will this? It's like a bad boyfriend, like one that you need, you need to break up with, but he just like turns sweet again, and you think everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So is that a warning to anyone in a bad relationship, Edna? It's not going to be okay?
It will be okay on the other side.
And one day he's just going to come in and dump out all your rice?
Oh, man.
I would have been so pissed.
Locked all my doors for that. What was that, Nicole?
I would have been so pissed if he dumped the rice.
All right, let's go back. Let's pretend that this happened at the Apulu tribe, okay? And you guys, am I pronouncing that right? I know it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were like Upolu 6, I guess. The 5 plus Edna and Cochran.
Oh.
Made for Survivor, right? Just walk around in a shirt. He actually reminds me a lot of Bradley Cooper.
Beat Coop?
That's some high praise. Bradley Cooper's a dreamboat.
That's true.
All right. Let's take
Maybe a skinnier version.
Yeah.
All right.
A douchier version.
All right. So Sherry, here's what she owns. This is according to the National Enquirer. Do you want to guess, Nicole?
I feel like it's like a Subway or like a Quiznos.
Okay. She owns.
That's what I was guessing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like it's got to be something sort of healthy.
She owns one of Nicole's favorites. 2 Wetzel's pretzels.
I love Wetzel's pretzels.
Yes. 2
cool.
Jimmy John sandwich shops.
Oh wow.
A Cinnabon, and a Haagen-Dazs.
Oh, so she's doing very well for herself.
She's a smart lady.
How is she so skinny?
I want Wetzel's pretzels.
Yes. Well, maybe, yes. Much like when Edna was on Survivor, she sent us some Bear E's. Maybe Sherry will send you
Sherry, listen up.
some Wetzel's pretzels.
She needs to get you a gift card.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
My mouth is watering.
What would you rather have, Nicole? Dawn's bread or Sherry's Wetzel's pretzels?
Dawn, I love you, but I'm sorry, Wetzel's pretzels will always win.
I agree.
This could be a third contender in the Dawn Holly Hoffman Bake Off on Twitter. I think
Yummy.
so. Yes, the Wetzel's pretzels. All right, so Reynolds seems to be in a good spot going forward here. He has an idol.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Reynolds campaign, I feel like, has gained some steam here now.
But I don't get it. Okay, so they went to tribal council last week. They got rid of Laura because they needed to be weak. They needed muscle. So they go into the challenge. They still lose. And Reynolds' muscle, why wasn't he holding the rope if they were keeping him for muscle? Why was he throwing? Like, he should have been there holding
in fairness,
the rope.
if anybody should be throwing, it's Reynolds. From what we've seen through 5 episodes, the guy is he can go to a
very
carnival.
Good hand.
Yeah, and throw,
He's very good hands.
He has good hand-eye coordination.
Okay, but it's not working.
Okay, well, that was, I don't know. Who were the 2 people holding the ropes for the fan? I know that it was Mike, and who was the other one?
Eddie, wasn't it?
I think it was Eddie.
Mike and Eddie. It was like really, they really could have used Shamar there.
Yeah. Okay.
That really would have been Shamar. It's like, it would have been the perfect challenge for him. It's like, hey, Shamar, just
sit here.
Yeah,
just sit here and do nothing.
Just lie here and hold
Keep
this
your
rope.
eyes closed.
Yeah, Shamar, just sit on this rope here
Yeah.
take a nap on this rope. That would have been perfect for Shamar.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
he's not there. And I think what happened was it really made Brandon upset because what the fans tried to do was they put all the coconuts on Brandon.
They got Brandon out first.
And then they went to Phillip.
And it made him look like the hero.
And then and Brandon is strong. How many pounds did he hold
built like
on
a
that
brick shithouse.
in that challenge that you guys had, Edna, where he set the record?
Like 220 pounds or something like that. It's crazy.
So then Brandon wore them out while they were throwing. They got tired throwing all the coconuts in Brandon's thing. And then Phillip held on there, and Jeff says, Phillip wins immunity.
And then we were talking about this last week. Like, Jeff needs to cool it with, calling people out for winning the challenge.
That really put Brandon over the edge.
This is all Jeff's fault.
Jeff did not care for
it. Jeff is deliberately doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Jeff is egging on Brandon.
Well,
oh, yeah.
We'll see.
He says things like, Sherry is totally useless in this challenge.
Yeah, he did say that.
That wasn't nice, Jeff.
That wasn't nice. Did you feel bad for Matt with his feet?
Oh,
that
yeah.
was disgusting.
I really like Matt. I can't identify with the way he looks or everything that is
his dead
persona
person
or
feet.
outward appearance. But when he speaks and when his line of reasoning and thinking, I just it really jives with me. He's really funny. He's like, I've got dead people feet or whatever. It
Yeah,
was.
does Matt
Funny.
have zombie feet? And if he scratches you with one of his toenails, do you get zombie feet?
Probably.
Yeah, but I would still cuddle with him if I was in the shelter. My goodness, I'd hide under his beard.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'd be scared of what's going to crawl out of it.
No kidding.
Yeah. All right. So we have a lot of questions here for you, Edna, from the listeners of Rob Has a Podcast. These, of course, come to us on our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Rob Has a Podcast. All right. Are you ready for this, Edna?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Jeremy Zare wants to know, how jealous do you think everyone else was that they didn't get a vigorous shoulder massage from Jeff Probst? People want to talk about the massage.
Mm-hmm.
I think both straight and gay people were very jealous.
Okay. Whoa.
For sure.
Well, who wouldn't like a back rub?
Exactly. I'm sure Jeff smells great and fantastic, and he's getting straight guys would probably be jealous, and gay guys would be jealous too. I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay, all soft.
Soft hands.
Jason Black wants to know, what is Brandon's worst outburst, not counting this one? If you had to pick.
You know, it's there's so many little things. I think
So many to choose from.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little ones. Like he in my season obviously had the meltdowns pretty much every single tribal council where he couldn't really keep a secret in terms of the direction of the vote. But then the way he treated Kayla was like, oh, you're not really part of the alliance. And the way he treated me, like, you're not really part of the alliance. And it's this back and forth and back and forth. But I don't know if you consider this an outburst, but at our reunion show, he said that none of his family was there
I remember.
to support him. But I talked to Russell that night, and he's like, well, the reason why they're not there is because Brandon sold all his tickets.
Yeah, Russell said that on the podcast.
Russell did say that. I feel like I don't know if that was ever verified, though.
Russell told me this.
Well, if Russell said it, then it's true.
Okay,
If
fair
Russell
enough.
said it, yeah. So I don't know if you consider that an outburst.
I don't think
but
that's an
it's definitely-
outburst, Edna.
That's just
definitely sort of
crazy.
like a quiet outburst.
That he's an entrepreneur.
He is. You have to give him some credit for that.
Yes.
You're
think
such
they
a
have-
the glass is half full kind of guy, Rob.
Yes, he's a business person, just like Edna.
He's a capital society. I just don't think you should just throw your family under the bus like that. So.
I don't think you should lie to America.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really lie. He just said none of my family are here with me. I mean,
That's true. That was true.
So,
But he knew what he was doing. He was manipulating the American people and some Canadians
All right. So
and Australians.
Mark Solero wants to know, Edna, how's the baby?
oh, he's so sweet. Thank you for asking. He just turned 10 months, and
Oh.
he's really, really sweet.
And
I'll have to put him in the buff.
what's the baby's name?
His name is Dean. It's an anagram of Edna.
Oh, Teen, that's a cute name.
Edna, are you big into anagrams?
Well, I just really love words with friends, and so we're just like playing around. So
Oh, because Rob really just likes anagrams.
Yeah, that's fun.
really, and so also has no R's or L's, so it'd be pronounceable for my Chinese parents.
Oh, that's good thinking.
Yeah. Well done. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Matt Cowan will say, who would win in a true street fight, Brandon or Philip? Now, this came up during the episode last night. Philip said, I'm a street fighter during the thing.
What?
Yes. When they were at the mat, it came up, and Philip said, you're going to mess with me? I'm a street fighter.
What does that even mean, Philip?
He's a street fighter. He fights in the street.
I think if there were like no rules,
He rollerblades in
no
Santa
rules.
Monica. He's not a street fighter.
He has a height advantage and a reach.
Yeah.
All right,
he does. He does. And I think he's probably, if there were rules like MMA, I think they're probably Philip probably could win.
Oh, so
If there were no rules, we could fight, and there's like just true street fighting, and there's like no protection, I think Brandon would win.
yeah. Okay, I agree with that.
Like if you just play totally dirty, no rules, like nothing, just all go crazy, I can just bite one of your gonads off. And
Whoa.
feel like probably Brandon.
I think my money would still be on Brandon.
Yeah, I would take Brandon, I think, in just about any form of hand-to-hand combat. I think I would go with Brandon, just because Brandon seems to dislike Philip much more
He's
than Philip dislikes
angry.
Brandon.
He's angry.
And yeah, I think Philip at the end of the day
But
doesn't want to get his hands that dirty.
Maybe you can give. Who knows? Maybe he has some special agent training. You got to give.
Oh.
Never
Yeah,
know.
but Brandon's like a wrestler and a boxer too.
Yeah, he's scrappy.
Yeah, he's scrappy. With all due respect to Philip, I think that Brandon is just he's like a Tasmanian devil.
Yeah,
You don't want to.
I think Brandon's got this one.
You don't
want
to mess with him.
Yeah. I think Brandon is the real street fighter.
I really like Philip, so I just try to throw him, something.
Oh, you're a good friend.
Yeah, that was nice. Keith Dixon wants to know, do you know how to make any other items of clothing out of tree mail, Edna? Now, everybody remembers you made a visor out of tree mail. Can you make anything else out of tree mail?
I probably could make several other things out of tree mail. Like probably like a skirt or something if I had enough pieces of tree mail. That would be fantastic. And like that hat that Philip and Coughlin were wearing, I'd probably make some rice paddy farmer hat. That would probably be really, really conducive for keeping the sun off. I could probably make several of those.
You're such a smart lady.
So crafty. Yeah.
If you just get really bored, really.
All right. David Vulcan wants to know, do you think that Brandon could use some numbnuts right now? Could Brandon use any of your products, Edna?
Most definitely. I think that was probably the problem. He was a little bit more metro, and probably he'd probably just have everything.
So you think his nuts are on fire?
Like take it down a notch, yeah.
So,
like look at the massage. I mean, the massage totally calmed him down.
Yeah.
He had like a little pedicure, little manscaping action. Like he come back.
Well, tell people.
More.
We have the podcast has grown a lot since Survivor South Pacific, and maybe some of our listeners don't know what your products, Bare Ease and Numbnuts, do.
Oh yes, Numbnuts is a cream that numbs the skin before grooming. So for men, it's a manscaper's numbing cream, if you will. And so I made it a blue color just so it would be fun. And I think if Brandon just went to have some manscaping, just have like a facial, he would be like a brand new man, a gentleman. Yeah, I think that would work for him. So yeah, the answer is yes. I do think Brandon needs some numbnuts and a day at the spa because he clearly liked that massage.
Yeah. Now, Edna, I have a friend who wanted to ask you this question.
Who's your friend?
You don't know him.
I don't know him?
You don't
Okay.
know him. My friend wanted to know if you took Bare Ease or Numbnuts and put it on your hand, and then
I haven't heard this question
and
before.
then put a glove on, would it feel like if you touched?
Would it be this like the stranger?
If you touched your face, for instance, would it feel like somebody else was touching your face?
Are we kind of extrapolating this to like other parts of the human anatomy?
No, and just answer the question, Edna.
Okay. You will.
I work the night shift, Edna.
I did work all day. I had a very stressful case today. Your hand should feel numb, but your face should feel normal.
Yes. Okay.
So it would be like the stranger.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you. We all got it. We got it. Brian Scally wants to know, did you think it was ironic that Eric Reichenbach was the one that physically gave away the immunity idol to the other team? Did you think that was ironic? That
I hadn't even caught that. That is really ironic. Yes, poor guy.
No,
and it was because of Brandon. He had to give it away.
Poor guy. That was pretty ironic.
Yes. Let's see. Carl Hedlund wants to know, did you feel cheated that you shared a beach with the more rational coach 3.0? Did you ever wish that you had been with the less rational coach 1.0 or 2.0?
I do kind of wonder what it would be like. But, at the same time, I just take every opportunity. I really like Coach. I believe all his stories about the indigenous people. Call me crazy or gullible, but I wonder what it would have been like if I had met him 1.0.
Okay. What do you think, Nicole?
I think it would have been interesting.
Sure. Okay. All right. Matt Curran wants to know, Edna, how many times did Brandon pee in your rice, if you had to guess?
I'm a rice connoisseur, being Chinese and all. And we also did not have coconuts in our. I mean, we only had coconuts that were off the land. It wasn't. We didn't have rice in our season, so he. As far as I can tell, realistically, he never peed in our food.
What do you think would be worse, if he peed in the rice or if he instead
Dropped a deuce.
No, stop
I
it.
think that's where you were going.
No, if he threw it on the ground, the two things that he threatened to do.
Peeing or throwing on the ground.
Yeah, what would be worse?
I wouldn't eat it either, to be honest with you, because you know that urine
Edna,
is not
you would
fully
eat the
processed.
rice after Brandon
You would
peed
eat
in
yellow
it?
rice.
Yeah, I'd probably just go wash it off.
But doesn't it
It's not gonna
absorb
kill
any
you.
of that?
It's sterile.
Urine is sterile.
But still.
It's still a bodily fluid.
But still.
And it's still Brandon's.
I would probably prefer, if I had to choose one, I'd probably choose the rice on the ground with the rest.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I would take the rice on the ground also. And, thank God Boston Rob isn't there because he likes his rice crispy, not soggy.
Yes.
Hey, Brandon, don't even think about it.
I think that if Boston Rob was there, this wouldn't have happened.
Yes. I think Boston Rob could have been a calming presence for Brandon.
I think so too.
And then he would have just voted him out.
And then, yes.
And he would have not seen it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Need to know basis.
Yes. Okay, one last question for Edna and Nicole. You could jump in here too.
Okay.
Ding, marry, kill. Brandon, Phillip, and Shamar.
Ooh, that's a tough one. That is a
tough one.
really tough one.
It's a tough one.
Who would I want to align with?
No, ding, marry, kill. Do you know how to play this game, Edna?
Oh no, I don't know how to play this game. Sorry.
Yes, and I know you're a
Sorry,
married
you can explain
you're a married woman, but if you can give everybody
You still have eyes.
a massage on Survivor, you can answer this question. All right, one of these people you have to ding, one of these people you get to marry, and one of these people you get to kill.
And ding, that means
Ding.
Yes.
have intercourse.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I just have to make sure that I'm. Hey, ding, marry, or kill. Okay, got it. Okay.
Brandon, Phillip, and Shamar.
Ugh.
This is the worst game ever.
I would have to kill myself.
Yeah, and in hindsight, Nicole, I would actually prefer not knowing what you would pick in this one.
You think less of me?
Yes. All right, Brandon, Phillip, Shamar. Go, Edna.
This is the worst game ever.
Edna, I'm sorry. You just said you would eat the rice that Brandon peed in. You can.
I would rather eat the rice than do that. That sounds horrible. Let's see. This is a very violent game. Can I choose a different game?
Shamar was.
We've had enough violence.
Yeah, Shamar was very gregarious in my exit interview with him. Phillip is a lot of fun. Everybody knows that. Brandon has a sweet side to him. Look at the.
And I was nervous that she was going to come back because I didn't know if I could trust her or anything. Over the course since my season had filmed, she's actually really great, and so she's really funny and witty. So it can rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, but Edna, you weren't nervous that she was calling your husband?
Oh no! So calling on to sell drugs, whatever, like a sample.
Okay.
Wowzer.
Wow. All right. Yeah.
I trust my husband.
All right, good.
We're in a final 2 alliance.
Good.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's very
We're
good.
in a final 3.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm sure a lot of women would get nervous if Corinne was calling their husband.
she's great though.
Yeah,
and
she had a lot to say last night, at least for the first time this season. Probably the most we saw her.
Yeah, we want more Corinne.
But she was like the spokesperson for the tribe at the big summit, and she had like a whole speech.
Yeah.
She's like, Jeff.
I think the good thing, yeah, she doesn't get crazy emotional like that. So I think that because she's able to maintain her composure, that helped a lot to be able to eloquently state what the tribe was wanting for them.
She was like up in front of Congress. She was like, I would like to call a formal petition to, and in the appropriate venue, I'd like to schedule a meeting of, yeah. Very formal for Corinne last night. And
so who are you rooting for?
Oh, well, Edna, as a journalist, I have to try to be neutral.
Since he's so professional.
Try to be professional.
I'll ask Nicole.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so for Corinne, she also, I thought she was in trouble too, that she was starting to get Brandon's ire after she addressed Jeff Probst at the Met.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she's been she's on a couple people's target. Andrea,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't know if how strong her alliance is with Malcolm.
Yes.
They obviously, and so now the South Pacific, if you will, alliance with Dawn, Brandon, and Cochran. Brandon's gone. Now we have the Redemption Island, and then so I don't know how that's going to kind of shift. It's going to be very exciting coming up in the next few episodes for sure.
Especially now that they're going to do looks like a tribe swap, right?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
That's coming up down the line a little bit here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Dawn and Cochran. That they really seem to be in a position to be the swingers here, and this is not an unfamiliar position for Cochran because it really seems like whatever direction they choose to go here is probably going to be the direction that has the majority.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's for sure, and I think that they're going to be they're a survivor couple. Not like
Whitney and Keith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess they're engaged.
Yes.
But,
are you invited to Whitney and Keith's wedding, Edna?
I have not been invited. Have you?
Not you. Well, no, but I don't know them.
We're waiting by our mailbox for the invitation.
Oh, I'll let you know. I'll send a tweet.
Yes.
But there'll be probably they're a voting block, if you will, and so that can be dangerous, or it can be used to their advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask a question about the long-term impact from what we saw here last night. So do we feel like, I felt like this was probably edited in a positive light, would you say? Would you feel like this was a positive or a negative? I mean, they made a big deal about it on the show.
I think it's edited in a positive light. I'm sure this tirade went on for like hours, and they just cut. And in my experience, it's limited, but the way that they cut Brandon in South Pacific was very favorable.
Mm-hmm. So,
and I think that they did a good job
so
through this time too. So you can kind of see where he's kind of making his point, and I think it was probably done in his favor.
Do we think that to some degree now has the game been changed? And hear me out. So let's say now it's Survivor 27 and there's somebody on the game and it's the first vote and it's pretty obvious they're going to get voted out, 8-1 at the first tribal council of Survivor 27. The person says, "Okay, fine. You're going to vote me out. Well, if you guys are going to vote me out tonight, now I'm going to XYZ. I'm gonna pee in the rice. I'm gonna, cut the shelter down. I'm gonna burn all of your stuff and
cut holes in the tarp.
And that's what I'm gonna do. And nobody, unless you blindside somebody,
because there's no repercussions for it.
Anybody who is going to go out of the game. I mean, if this could be a thing.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because people are gonna say, "Hey, I don't want to have a boring vote off episode. I'm going out with a bang."
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
And it's almost like, it's kind of kamikaze Survivor, where it's like, hey, if I'm going out, you're gonna take me out. I'm taking, this is all about me, and I'm gonna throw a temper tantrum and watch me.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a Brandon Hantz, basically.
Yeah, but I think it takes a certain personality to do that. Like a rational person or their mind wouldn't even go there.
I think we're gonna see this again.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll see it again. That's for sure. And I think you make a very good point. And I feel like you see people kind of knowing their fate is coming, and you just there's some just dumping of emotional baggage or whatever they have to say at tribal council before their flame is torched. I do see it potentially a game changer, but you have to be very confident that you're going to be out of the game. He's going this kamikaze style.
Yeah.
Otherwise, for sure, the next time you'll be on the chopping block.
I just think it comes down to a lack of sportsmanship. It's like
it's disturbing.
When you sign the paper and you agree to go on the game, it's like you're in the game until you get voted out. And it's like if you think you're going to, once you realize that you're going to lose, you still have to go to tribal council. You still have to get your torch put out. Otherwise, we don't have a show. Mm-hmm. So just because you're going to lose, you still have to bite the bullet.
You can't have a temper tantrum.
You can't just walk off the show and say, yes, take the ball and screw you guys. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I hope that they make that rule because I think at least for our season, they told us if you guys quit, you're not allowed to be on the jury.
Oh.
If you get it to that part. That's what we were told.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting where if they say, okay, if you are removed from the game due to like you don't get your money or whatever it is. And I think maybe we need to put that into effect.
I think so, definitely.
We talked about this sort of stuff after Nyanka and Purple Kelly where it's like, okay, if you just like what you're saying, like if you quit, you're not on the jury. I think if you leave the game under these sort of circumstances where the tribe is getting rid of you because you're being destructive. And again, we talked to Russell earlier tonight, not like, oh, I'm gonna burn this guy's socks when he's not looking and create. That's not having a tantrum and a tirade. I think that you need to,
right.
If you are. That should be.
If you're becoming threatening and violent.
Yeah, your contract is voided and you don't get your money.
You don't get your money. You don't come back for the finale.
And you don't get to come to the finale.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
And we're not talking about hiding.
And no reality rally.
From Philip.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's a difference when it's you are saying, "Hey, I'm being voted. If you're gonna vote me out, here's what I'm doing." And maybe it needs to be the players need to be better at hiding their intentions. And you can't let people know that it's probably a bad idea anyway. Mm-hmm. But every vote has to be a blindside.
That would definitely change the game if every vote was a blindside because you can't strategy. It's confusing about who's going to be voted out anyway, and then who do you vote for and all this stuff. What was I going to say?
Yeah, but then you get blabbermouths that can't keep their mouth shut, and then.
Yeah. I mean, where does it end though? Then if you blindside somebody at tribal council, then what if they took Brandon to tribal council, let him think he was staying, then they blindsided him? And would he have just gotten up and strangled Philip?
It's a possibility.
I mean, what do you do?
That would have been great TV.
Do they have security on hand?
It's a good
question.
Do
they have guys in black shirts?
Not like that, but I think they have like people who are available to protect the players,
from each other.
And the players probably would protect each other just out of a defensive action. But I'm sure there'd be people jumping out behind their cameras or something just to protect them. I would hope.
I know we've singled out Brandon a lot, and probably rightfully so.
I mean, this is what we just saw.
But what happens if last week? What if Shamar decided he was going to wring Reynolds' neck last week, or at one of these tribal councils?
Yes.
I mean, what could they do? Do they have like a tranquilizer gun to take down Shamar?
Who's going to get in between Shamar?
I know.
Shamar was pretty big.
Yeah.
I don't think. I would think it had to take a lot to because where Jeff is, where the medical team is, it's not. Jeff had to come on a boat and they evaluated Shamar with his eye, corneal abrasion or whatever he had.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while. So I mean, you could, if you seriously wanted to inflict some physical injury on somebody, you could before they arrive.
Yeah.
They need like bouncers.
Well, yeah, like at the challenge, if Brandon tried to take Philip down at the challenge, there would have been people around. But like where we saw in the episode, there
was no one around.
Like if we go back like a week or two with that tribal council where they come back and the Shamar is screaming at everybody. I mean, there's like one guy there with a camera. I mean,
he's just gonna keep recording.
Yeah, it's late at night after tribal council. There's two tops people there. I mean, if Shamar wanted to like take Eddie and Reynolds and knock their heads together, I mean, who was gonna stop them? Sherry, Like
she does have some guns.
Yeah, she would be pretty ineffectual.
I don't know. I think it's something that we need to be on the lookout for, because I know a lot of people have been, a lot of the coverage of this has been, should they have even had Brandon back?
That was my next thing. Like CBS is taking a lot of heat right now for even just bringing him back.
He's great TV. The whole episode last night probably got more ratings than the Jeff Probst show.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
You're probably right.
So he's really good for TV. So it's like, what do you do? Like they're really great for ratings, and he does have like a following. Some people really love him, some people really hate them, the Hantz family. But at the end of the day, they're good for the television ratings. So it's a real bind that they're in.
But if he kills somebody.
Yeah, and I'm not even specific. I'm not, totally specifically talking about Brandon Hantz right now. But, if somebody how do we?
He has suggested that he wants to come back for a third time in some of his exit interviews.
Yes, I know, I know. Edna, do you think this is a good idea?
You see, it's not that easy of a question. People, like, part of me just wants to see you on TV because she's so great. Like, you want to see, like, give him a chance to strangle somebody.
She's so twisted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it's just like, this is a terrible role model. Why should we be letting somebody like him be on TV?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so unpredictable.
Yeah, this is prime time.
I would have to say that, you know, coming into this, I thought there's no way that we would see Brandon Hantz again.
Right.
But I kind of feel like from the reaction of Jeff and from what I've read, I don't think it's totally out of the question.
I don't think so either, and I think that that's a bit absurd.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because that's why what's her face, that toddler girl with the
Honey Boo Boo?
What's her face?
Honey Boo Boo has a television program. I mean, that's the society we live in now.
Should they add Brandon Hantz to Honey Boo Boo?
Honey Boo Boo is going to be like, it'll be the Honey Boo Boo and Brandon Hantz show.
I think we have a hit. I think we have a complete hit right now.
That's what our society has come to.
Yeah. I think that the show got lucky here with Brandon Hantz.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they got the explosion. They got this, you know, iconic sort of moment.
Right.
Nobody got hurt. I think they were very lucky.
Yeah.
And I think that they would be foolish to tempt fate again, whether it's with Brandon or anybody else who is, you know, shows even a little bit of signs of being unstable. I think that they have ways of testing for this, and I think that maybe that area should be looked at maybe with a little bit more.
I would have liked to have been present on his ink blot test.
Yeah.
They like those people who are very borderline like that, who's unpredictable.
But he's beyond. He's not borderline.
Yeah, I know.
He's beyond borderline.
But here's the problem. Now, Survivor's a TV show, and they want people who are going to create conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things. Who's going to fight with each other? But it's like a fine line we're walking out, because now we want people who are going to fight and get in each other's faces and scream at each other and argue, but not people that are going to be destructive and hit each other.
Yeah.
So
right.
Sometimes we're going to get it right, and sometimes we're not. We'll see what the course correction is for the show. Like, whereas Dalton Ross talked about this a lot with Brandon I think you over course corrected where you played a okay game the first time, but you went too far the other way the second time around. Now, we'll see what Survivor does. Is Survivor going to go, the show in Survivor 27, are we going to see more people that are very, like, short fuses and people who could, you know, just, like, go off at any second and, you know, we love this? Or is Survivor going to try to cast people who are, you know, more docile to avoid a situation that could get ugly? Or no course correction?
It's so hard because they were getting criticized, like, oh, these first few episodes so boring, and then this. So
there's got to be a happy medium.
Yeah. Is it people are never happy? Is that the problem, Edna?
That's just the way it is.
Right. Yeah, but then you get somebody like Corinne, who is, you know, pretty even-tempered, but has a really sharp tongue that can have an altercation with somebody and still be normal.
That's true. Corinne hasn't had any altercations with people, but she has a really good secret scene this week talking about how what Brandon Hantz did is definitely a quit. If you watch any secret scenes this week, watch Corinne's. It's a very strong one for Corinne.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, very good. So we've spent so much time on the favorites and on Brandon. Let's talk about the fans real quick for a couple of minutes. We have a little bit of a shifting of the guard, or changing of the guard, where it was Sherry so much for the first 4 episodes, but she seems to have been in the post-Shamar, post-Laura world. Her role seems to be very diminished in the tribe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's for sure. I'm very curious as to what franchise she owns, because it probably just would reflect a lot on her personality, I think.
I think we know. I think we know. Here, you keep talking.
Let's refer to our friend Google.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I think that obviously this gives more power to Eddie and Reynolds, who I'm rooting for. I really like the energy that I see from Reynolds.
I think I just like looking at him.
He's just like.
Today's podcast is made possible in part when our listeners use our links for Amazon.com. Whether you're looking for a new batch of rice, beans, or a portable massager, get the best deals on everything and support Rob as a podcast when you use our links at robhasawebsite.com/Amazon. Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now, here's a guy who in 10 years of being with Nicole has never gotten a back rub like Jeff Probst gave to Brandon Hantz. Rob Sesternino. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Rob Has a Podcast. I am Rob Sesternino, here with the one and only First Lady of Podcast, non-back rub giving, Nicole Sesternino.
Hello.
And Nicole, you are going to be with us the whole show today.
The entire time.
This is almost like...
Hold on to your butt cheeks.
Hold on to your butt cheeks. It's almost like election coverage where we're bringing out the big guns here.
Well, I am the medical professional here.
Our medical professional. We have got a big show tonight.
It's huge.
Big show tonight, okay? So we have... very controversial thing that happened. It wasn't just Hantz again, and there's so many different angles to cover on this story.
Lots of layers here.
It's a very layered story for what we do, because we're going to talk about the show. We're going to talk about the meta of what does this mean for the show? What are people reacting to this? So we all know what happened. Brandon Hantz had the meltdown, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. It was a Hantz-ageddon. He went out. He was the author. He was the author of his own fate, which is not selling as well as the book that Philip is the author of.
Ooh, don't compare them.
The Specialist: the Costa Rica Job. That's what Philip is the author of.
Right.
So we have a big show. Okay, so we're going to talk about all the different angles here, what this means for everything. Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk to in a couple minutes. We're going to call up Russell Hantz.
Obviously, we have to talk to Russell Hantz.
We cannot get the scope of what is going on without checking in with Russell Hantz.
It's hard to get a good read on where he stands.
So we're going to talk to Russell Hantz. Brandon says his uncle has, in his interview with Dalton Ross, which was great.
It was a very good interview. If you haven't listened to it, check it out.
I did an exit interview with Brandon, and it was a little rough at first.
I thought you were going to get beat up through the phone.
He was pissed. And then it turned out that whatever he was pissed about,
somebody
else said it. Okay,
but Whoopi Goldberg better watch out.
Whoopi better watch it.
Yes.
Okay, and you'll have to listen to the interview to find out why Brandon is mad at Whoopi. That being said, you would think if Whoopi Goldberg was going to fight with any survivor, it would be Elizabeth Hasselbeck.
You would think.
No. Whoopi Brandon, that could be coming. Watch out.
That's amazing.
She better not give him a nickname. That's all we have to say. But anyway, so Dalton Ross did a really great interview with Brandon Hantz this morning as well. And Brandon said his uncle has never been prouder of him.
Yes, but then when you go on Twitter, Russell is asking questions.
So we'll get we'll get the whole story straightened out.
We need to know.
Okay. Then after we talk to Russell, we're gonna check in with Edna, Edna Ma,
another medical professional.
You're right. Who lived with Brandon the whole time she was there on Survivor South Pacific. Yes. She also is friends with Corinne in real life.
Yes.
She also played with Cochran and Dawn, so she has a few different angles to cover.
Yes.
And we never got her on the show. We've been trying to figure out a way to get her on. We thought this would be a good spot.
Perfect.
So a lot to do. Nicole's with us the whole time. Big show.
Might have to take a pee break.
All right. So last night, Nicole, I did the big show with Steven Fishback, and Steven was having like a whole party at his house.
Who knew Steven was such a pimp?
A big pimp.
He's big pimpin'.
He is big pimpin'. So we did that show with Steven. That was a lot of fun. If you miss any of our Survivor shows, you can always subscribe to Rob Has a Podcast, either on iTunes or to our... or your whatever, if you're not on Apple. Some people are on the Droid, Nicole.
Some people are.
Yeah. Or you could subscribe to our Survivor-only feed of Rob Has a Podcast. You could do either of those things at robhasawebsite.com/show feed. So I know this is a big show. I know a lot of people are really highly anticipated the coverage of this. So let's go ahead. Let's see if we can just get Russell Hantz on the line. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Okay, Nicole. Here we go. Okay, dialing Russell Hantz.
Hello.
Hello, is this Russell Hantz?
This is Russell Hantz.
The one and only?
Yes, Russell, you're on with Rob and Nicole.
Yeah, I'm becoming a regular here.
You were a regular before this.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing. Maybe I could be like a side host or something.
You're like the new Stephen Fishback.
I think you're on the show more than I am.
The new Stephen Fishback.
Has anybody ever called you that?
Stephen Fishback.
Well, you're going to be on as much as him.
Well, I guess I can see our games being somewhat the same.
very. You guys have something in common too.
Yeah, but I'm much better looking than he is.
Whoa! Oh, all right. Well, we're not here to talk about. We're not here to talk
we can't
about
go there.
Stephen Fishback. Russell, that the Hantzes have been on everybody's mind today. We
more than usual.
We have this whole situation that went down. I talked to Brandon this morning, and I don't know if you had any part in that, but we appreciate your help in any way, shape, or form with the podcast.
Right.
So, Russell, we want to know, what was your reaction to what we saw last night?
Well, I was sitting right next to him. I didn't know. I knew approximately what was going to go down, but I didn't know. He didn't tell me a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting next to him, and then when he sits there at the camp and he's telling them about his kids and all this stuff that you hear when people are trying to walk away, and then he says, "I want you to vote me out." I looked at him, and my son was in there, his wife was in there, he was in there. I looked at him, I said, "You just quit." And and I was like, "You just quit," and he didn't say nothing. Because it was just, when I heard that, I was like, "Holy crap!" I mean, the thing is with Survivor, hundreds of people check out of that game without quitting.
Mm-hmm.
They mentally just check out, and then they just hope for the best and float their way through the game. And I think Brandon checked out both times he played. I think the first time he checked out at the very end, gave his idol away. And this time he checked out, and then this was his giving his idol away. Him, going crazy and just going crazy on Phillips and pouring out their rice and beans. And I just, I can understand him getting upset, and I can understand all that. But this isn't the real world. This is a fantasy world in a game for $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that you got to leave that stuff at the door when you play the game. But he cannot do that. He's young. He doesn't have that capability, and that's not in him.
Oh, Russell, this wasn't what I thought you were going to say. I thought that you were I heard an interview with Brandon with Dalton Ross. He said that you were very proud of how he did last night.
Well, the thing is, he has to realize, the thing is, he stood up for himself. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's not going to get you to the end of the game.
Right.
I'm happy that he stood up for himself as a man. But like I said, this is, he failed in the game of Survivor. Now, personally, he did a good job. In the game of Survivor, he did a terrible job. You see what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. So could you elaborate on the difference? Because I think for a lot of people, they say, okay, Brandon, poured out the rice. He did, he's going to burn the camp down. Could you talk a little bit about what the difference is between that and burning Jason's socks or hiding the machete on the heroes or the villains?
Everything I did was a strategic play. Everything I did was for instance, my first season in 19 Samoa, I burned their socks, pulled out the waters, told this fake story about Katrina, all this stuff. Well, that was all for manipulating. That was all if I can control the way they feel, I thought I control the way they think. It was all to make them weaker so I can try to get them to vote how I wanted them to vote. Brandon poured out their water because he poured out their rice because he just plain got mad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he got mad, he lost his temper, and he poured out the rice. I didn't do one single thing out there by losing my temper. Everything I did, I thought through. And everything I did was a way for me to get further in the game. Not to, trust me, if I would have been Brandon, he had all kind of openings. He didn't have to go home. You know, I'm on the outside looking in, and I see all kind of windows he can go through to try to work his way into that game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just first of all, be patient and win the challenge, and then things happen. You know, I already see on the preview that Corinne was Phillip gone. So there you go. All of a sudden, you know, people going to get aggravated and want other people gone. So, you know, what he did by pouring out the rice wasn't right. It was just a way to go home, not to go further in the game.
Because you were in a similar situation in your third season in Redemption Island. You were on a tribe where you had a tribe that was going to that did throw a challenge so that they could get you out of the game. And I'm sure you knew that there was a good chance that you were going home. You could have, if you wanted to, said, "Okay, you're gonna vote me out. Fine. I'm gonna
pee in your rice.
I'm gonna do whatever." Yeah. But you, even though it didn't work, your Hail Mary came pretty close to working. If that one chick, what was her name? Julie?
Yes. If she would have switched that whole game, one person would have switched, that whole game would have changed, and the outcome would have been differently. One person.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were splitting the votes, they thought I had an idol, of course. And I just knew it. I was like, man, this would be a huge. And she would have went further in the game as a player. She made a huge mistake as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in my opinion. But anyway, the thing is look, I've been through the whole thing. You know, I've been through people bitching at me. I've been through Rupert hollering at me at the fire, and I'm just sitting down. I stay sitting. I have words with him, but I stay sitting. I don't get up, get in his face. They throw a challenge. Look what I do. I take it like a man. I go to Redemption Island, try to win my way back into the game. You know, try to get it to where I knew they were going to throw the challenge, but try to get it to where I can still work strategically and try to, you know, somehow make it to where we were one of them out, not me. So, you know, I've been through exactly what he's been through. And if people try to compare the two, there's no comparison at all. I don't go crazy in that game. I keep my cool, and I play the game.
Now, did you get annoyed last night when Jeff Probst started in? When he was, you know, they're doing this whole big thing, and Jeff Probst is like grabbing Brandon, and in the middle of the back rub, he's like, "Let me ask you a question. Is it in the blood?" And I'm like, what? He's like, "Yeah, this behavior, is it in the blood?
Is it in the Hantz blood?"
Yeah,
yeah, that didn't even make any sense. I never played like that. You can see it. You know, and he knows I never played like that. But that's what he's supposed to do. He's the host.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the biggest villain in Survivor history. He's gonna throw my name out there because look what Brandon's doing. He's trying to, you know, go toe to toe with me. The thing is, look at the villains. Look what's happening to the villains. You know, the old school villains, Johnny Fairplay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was a villain because of a strategic play.
Right.
You know, I was a villain because of strategic. Now you got villains like Abby and Colton and Brandon. You know, the villains now are just mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
They don't have any strategic play. They cuss at you. They call you, you know, they say negative things or whatever, and they're just aggravating, and that's why they're villain, because they're just aggravating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally not strategic.
By the way, did you happen to see Nicole was watching Kelly and Michael, the show.
I got all kind of response.
Did you see this?
I couldn't believe that.
Let me for people who didn't see it. For people who didn't see it, so Jeff Probst was a guest, and I thought that he was going to talk about the thing with Brandon, but they didn't ask him about it or anything.
Didn't.
So that they asked him, who is your least favorite contestant ever? And I thought he was going to say Johnny Fairplay,
because that's usually his answer.
Does not like Johnny Fairplay, and he said actually my least favorite contestant is somebody who's very good on the show, Russell Hantz.
That is insane.
Yes.
Wait, there's more.
And he said now, and he's great on the show. And he said, Russell, I hope you come back and play the game again. I just hope you don't find out where I live, is what he said.
I know where he lives.
Whoa! Oh no!
If he still lives in Malibu.
No, I don't think. Well, I don't know. I don't know for sure.
I think he found out that you knew when he moved.
But Russell,
you better hope Brandon don't find out where he lives, not me.
Brandon's gonna want another back rub.
Yeah. Russell, I would tell you where I live so you can come and flip my house and get me some more money.
Yeah, damn.
That's what I would do.
That blows my mind, because you have all of these players in history that quit the game. Are you telling me that he dislikes me more than Elka? They straight up quit? Just straight up walked out when she had an idol, and she was going, she probably could have went to the end of the game easily.
Yeah.
But I don't understand. I don't know if that was a TV thing or if that's what he really thinks, but it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Well, he wants you back, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, and you know what it might be? The people that he really hates the most, he doesn't even want to give them the press on TV. So it might be...
They, don't exist to him.
Yeah, if he really hated you, he wouldn't say your name.
Yeah.
and he did say, I hope you come back, but...
Don't come to my house.
Yeah. Now, are you guys concerned? I know that the Hantzes are all very close. Are you guys concerned about Brandon's well-being at all? I asked him this morning, has he had any treatment or anything? And he said, no. What treatment? What do I need treatment for? Are you guys worried about him?
It's just weird. I mean, I talk to my mom about him all the time. We think that he does need to get some sort of counseling.
Yeah.
It's only the right thing, even though you don't think he needs it. It's just the right thing to do. Just go talk to a psychiatrist. Nothing's wrong with that. Just talk to him.
Okay. So you guys, it's day 13 over by you guys, and Brandon, starts to get suspicious that they think that he might be the next one to go. And so he takes it out and dumps out all of the food for you guys. What's that like for you guys at that point? What's going through your mind at that point?
I think a lot of you're just in a state of shock. It's are you seeing what you're actually seeing? People were not really aware what was going on. People were kind of in their own conversations, doing whatever their chores are around the camp, and all of a sudden, Brandon comes charging through and starts dumping things up. I think just people in a state of shock. And so I think you just want to stop him. You don't know what the cause is. You don't know what's happening, and then he just goes crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It had to have been very, because it's what do you do? Do you tackle him? What can you do? And could you take him down?
He's strong.
He's a big guy. He's hard to take down.
Yeah. He's not big in stature, but he's very
as my mother would say, he's built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah, he's like Maurice Jones-Drew. He's hard to tackle.
Yes.
Yes, he is. He is indeed the first of the walkouts, and so he's the shortest in stature. And he likes to call himself a Mack truck. He used that analogy a lot.
I could see it.
Yeah. He just charges at whatever he wants to.
Now, one of the things that I've heard a few times from people from your season, talking to them, including I spoke to Jim Rice last week, a lot of people say that Brandon could have easily won your season. Had he gotten to the final three, he probably would have won, because for the most part, people thought he was a sweet kid and they liked him. Did you find that to be the case? Did you think that if Brandon got to the end of the game, he would win?
Well, Survivor's is a game of relativity, so it depends on who he was sitting next to.
Right.
And so I have a very different relationship with Brandon than Jim does.
Okay.
So I think that he maybe saw one side of it, and then I was with Brandon all before the merge, and so I got to see a lot more of the fluctuations. And I think that I can't say that I would have voted for Brandon if he was in the final three. I would disagree with Jim.
Who did you voted for Sophie or you voted for Coach?
I voted for Coach. So the three people who voted for Coach, me, Cochran, and Rick, I think that we spent, so ironically, we were the ones who spent some of the most time with him, with Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we could probably go on all night about Brandon, but let's talk about some of these other players in the game who you did also play with, and you mentioned the 5 plus Edna and Cochran. What have you thought about Cochran? And I know that Brandon, in interviewing him this morning, he was very upset with Cochran.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed to forgive Dawn, but he was very upset with Cochran.
Well, Dawn is easily forgivable.
Yes, he was very upset with Cochran for betraying him and turning on him in this game.
How?
Was he talking about the last game?
No, this one. No. He flipped to them in the last game. I guess going back to the first vote, I think that he felt like Cochran and Dawn were with the group that was voting with Francesca, and they switched to the fill-up group. So he was upset with Cochran about that. So what's your take on Cochran here so far in this new season, Edna?
Overall, Overall, I'm a huge Cochran fan. I think that's
who's not?
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
stated.
Who isn't?
Who's not? But I'm particularly fond of him since I know how it was with him the first season. And this Cochran that I see on TV now is like a totally different individual. He's got like so much more confidence and swagger.
He's got swag, yeah.
Yes, he does. And so it's an amazing transformation for me to see that. And so, and I think that confidence really, really comes through. Now I forgot what the question actually was.
Yeah, that's fine. We're just talking about Cochran, the transformation that he's made. What about Dawn? Have you seen a transformation in Dawn from your South Pacific season?
She right now seems very similar to how she was in South Pacific, like being the mother of the camp, making sure the shelter is built, and she was very, very tearful in the first episode that I remember, and that's very like she just wears her emotions right out in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that this particular season has been so tough in terms of the elements that I think that is just makes people even more vulnerable.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a tough weather season, and I said it last night with Steven. Whenever the weather starts getting tough, that's when
it
you
gets
hear
crazy.
People. That's when people start talking about quitting. Nobody's really talking too much about quitting
when they're sunbathing.
When it's sunny. Although I was corrected on Twitter by one of the longtime Survivor producers that Kathy Sleckman quit on a sunny day. But there's other circumstances at play there, as from our recent interview with Kathy. But for the most part, most people quit after some very bad rain, and that was the case.
Nyanka, particularly in Purple Kelly, is what I'm thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Now, how come Nyanka and Purple Kelly didn't get rub downs from Jeff when they were talking about wanting to go out of the game?
I was so jealous. I'm like, the more angry he got, it's moved into from a Swedish massage into deep tissue.
Yeah.
That was I was quite envious.
Yes, I was very jealous.
Yeah.
Now, didn't you give Coach a massage like that also?
You did give him quite a good massage.
I walked on all my tribe members, but they don't show that.
Did you give Brandon a massage during Survivor South Pacific?
Brandon was very particular about me not being married and going out there. Why was I, cuddling with who I was cuddling with that night? There was a lot of judgment there. So with him, I did not walk on his back. I walked on Albert and Sophie and whoever else wanted to be massaged, but not Jeff.
So do you think if it escalated more with Brandon, do you think that Jeff would have then walked on Brandon's back.
Yeah, would Jeff have walked on his back next?
Yeah, I think he would have been like, it would have been like a man embrace. That would have been really good.
Well, Edna, but maybe you could have disarmed the bomb that whole time in Survivor South Pacific if you only knew that the massage was the key to getting Brandon to decompress.
Who knew?
I mean, this is why I should play again. But in all seriousness, I think that Dawn's very much the same right now. Maybe like watching her reaction last night as she was like trying to prevent herself from hyperventilating, I felt as though she just looked more vulnerable there than I had seen her in South Pacific.
Yeah, she looked exhausted.
Yeah. I don't know. If I was with them, it's like I would be upset about the whole thing with the rice, but I don't know why everybody on the mat was so upset about Brandon is going to leave the game. I mean, I think I'd be upset if they told me he's not leaving. He's coming back with us. I don't think that's why
they were upset. They were upset that it was a tornado in their camp.
I guess so. They felt bad for him. Was that what it was?
I don't think they felt bad. I think there
maybe
was a lot
Dawn
of
felt
things.
bad for him. But
I think there was a lot of things that they were feeling, and
yeah.
it was a hard
what
situation.
I would be thinking? It'd be like, okay, as long as I'm not being voted out, it's another day on Survivor for myself.
Yeah.
I feel like, Rob, you would be totally like douche-tastic Reynolds, and you'd be smiling. And
no, only in my head. Edna, were you saying as you were watching this last night, why couldn't Brandon have done this on my season and kept me around longer?
If he'd done it a little bit earlier, I mean, it was just like he was on. It would have been great if he just had walked off and I'm like, oh great, here I am. Final 5.
One more day, 3 more days.
Yeah. So I want to know about the difference between, there have been two sort of alpha male figures in Brandon's Survivor playing career. And one was Coach, who had a very good relationship with Brandon and was able to rein him in a great way.
It was his buffer.
Really control him, and I think it was a good thing for Brandon.
Absolutely.
Kept him from flying off the handle. But then you have Philip, who a lot of people compare to Coach as being similar, but this time it did not work out for Philip, and Brandon could not stand Philip. What did you think about the job that Philip tried to do, and how is that different than Coach's approach?
I think also you have to say that Brandon is slightly different too, because Coach will kind of talk him down from the ledge, and then Brandon was probably a little bit more receptive. Like every single tribal council, like Brandon said, he cried every episode. He was crying, and so he's having a meltdown, but he's not crying in these episodes or in the last few episodes. And I think that Brandon himself is trying to be somebody different or perceived as stronger. And I think that there is a lot of similarities between Coach and Philip. I know that Philip can rub people the wrong way, and I think that you just have to accept that for being Philip. I don't think that once you get to know Coach, it comes off as self or us, if you will. You'll feel like you're part of Apollo, but you don't feel like you have a tagline or a name like the Dominatrix or Serenity or whatever it is.
Yeah, but Coach has been known to give out some nicknames too in his
here
time.
And there he does.
He nicknames
he does.
Stephen Fishback the Wizard. He names Cochrane Hercules.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of similarities there, and so I do see it. It's just I don't know if it's the Brandon factor trying to come in, being like I'm going to write my own destiny. You guys aren't going to do it. I do feel like that's a lot of it. And if he was just like lay low, let him be the alpha figure. I think that he kept saying it. I want to write my own destiny, and I want to be my own author. I think that has a lot to do with the way Brandon is trying to project himself.
Yeah. I think also Coach was more nurturing with Brandon. And I think Brandon is just kind of looking for that like father figure, and Coach was able to do that.
But I disagree here. I agree with what you're saying, but but here's the thing. But when he watched the episodes, coach was really not looking out for his best interests. And so now
Absolutely.
now he was scorned by that. And I think he really came into this season and said, I'm not going to let anybody hurt me again. And he's almost like a woman who's had her heart broken or a guy that's had his heart broken.
But I think that
I'm not going to get hurt again. And I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing for Brandon. I forget, I've seen so many Brandon interviews. I don't know if it was The Secret Scene or with Dalton Ross or an interview that I read or maybe when he talked to me. But he said, I didn't cry once this season.
And that's what he was proud
Yes,
of.
Yes.
that was something that he really he said last night, and he said and even though you're not crying, you're still having a meltdown. But
You're doing something else.
To me, that
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same category, and it I don't know. He obviously sees a distinction there.
Yeah. And they tricked me once. And he talked about Albert too.
Yeah.
With Dalton Ross. He said that Albert boasted that he mind effed him, which, whatever.
Not hard.
But so anyway, he felt like I got duped. I got taken advantage of by people. I'm going to show them. I'm not going to get taken advantage of again. And then once he found out that the writing
Why
was on
sign up for Survivor? I mean, that's the name of the game.
Yeah. I know, but it was like, hey, I'm not going to let this, no matter what, nobody's going to get to have the last say, and this is what I'm going to do. So if I think for 1 second I'm going to get voted out, I'm pulling the ripcord. I mean, from day 3 was when he started with, I'm going to burn down the shelter.
Yeah.
So he had to have had this in his back pocket going into this game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now,
and that for sure. Like there was a little bit of foreshadowing, if you will, but but that's kind of, I think that's kind of always in him, that kind of violent side, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that Jeff did an amazing job at I'm quoting their tribal council,
The impromptu tribal
handling the chaos.
Right. Yeah. Didn't Jeff do a great job, Edna? Were you impressed?
I was impressed by the way he handled him, but I kind of wanted to see a little bit more drama.
I think that Jeff was just scared that Brandon was gonna bash some heads.
Yeah. What did you want to happen?
It would have been great to see like some security guard
brawl.
From the
Like
bushes
Jerry
come
Springer.
running.
Yeah, like Steve the security guard.
I think that's a different network.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Edna is evil.
Wow, Edna.
Yeah.
Hey, it's TV.
It's good ratings.
Didn't
It's
you
a
take
hint. That's like it's a lost opportunity there.
Edna? Didn't you take a Hippocratic oath to ours?
I'm just an innocent bystander observer here.
She's not working as a doctor
Okay.
right now.
All right. You're not working for the mental health of anybody.
Yes.
I do feel as though he kind of probably threw all that license, made a huge scene because he knew as he was going out. So, like, what does he have to lose at this point?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to hate him no matter what. So, might as well just like add a little bit of icing on that.
I love Rice. It makes me so upset that he wasted that.
And what do you think about the technique for the rice? That he dumped it all in the ground, they were able to recover it. Do you think he should have thrown it up in the air, like more
52 card pickup?
more like a wedding?
Whatever happens, it's just going to bring more rats. And so that was the first thing I thought. I'm like, rats.
Edna's sadistic.
This is a whole nother
I don't
side
know.
of you we're seeing.
Yeah.
Well, it was not made for TV. This other stuff.
Now we know why you're such good friends with Corinne.
Now it's all making sense.
Corinne was yeah. I think you can't see so much of her right now. She's been kind of invisible.
I think a lot of people have been invisible this season because of the craziness with Brandon and Philip.
Well, let's talk about Corinne, because we first found out before your season, Corinne did a preview and said, okay, well, somebody from this season is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And we guessed, and we guessed, and we guessed every guy that was on the season. And we wouldn't have known that it was actually a woman that was Corinne's friend from the season. And so, and of course, it was you. So tell us, how are you friends with Corinne, and what have you thought about your friend this season?
So Corinne actually was a pharmaceutical rep, and she called in my husband's office. And my husband's a ENT.
Uh-oh. Now, would that make you nervous?
And so I was like, oh. And so I didn't know her. I just knew that she had this reputation of being this huge villain, not to be trusted. So there was a chance that she was supposed to come back for South Pacific,